everybody, how are you? How are you today? Alright, we are analyzing analysis stream today. A little bit slow, sorry. Had to make the coffee. Let me move the board. I'm bored with this board. Let me move the board a bit. What's up, Bijak? Gobble troll mops. I'm sorry, I had to make my coffee. It was a little bit slow here. And I move this board. I'm bored with this. Yeah. Yeah. So, we're in high demand today, apparently. Ponda. Yesterday I was sleep deprived. Had stayed up far too late. Didn't feel like streaming or anything, so Ponda handled the tournament yesterday pretty well, though he was lost against Gabaltron Mops. Gabaltron, you missed a simple, two-mover back rank. Queen takes knight on d4, and Black Ponda missed it too. And I told him not to play the Queen's Gambit Declined, but he doesn't listen. He's like some of our viewers out there. All right. Anyway, good game yesterday, Gabaltron Mops. Looked like you played him pretty even. Still not bad for a furry zoo animal. But not up to my standards, if you don't mind me saying so. Here we are, analysis stream Thursday night, and all right. So first off, I have a game submitted from Move 11. I'm not even sure he intended to submit this as a game, but he sent it to me, and he's a subscriber, so it's going in. Guys, please subscribe. Galvatron, thank you for being a subscriber. Are you a subscriber? You're not a subscriber. What am I telling? You're not a subscriber. King's Indian Defense, but you did give someone a subscribe. King's Indian Defense is a subscriber, thanks to you, I think. Gabaltron Mop's not a subscriber, but you're welcome anyway. Move 11 is a founder and a subscriber, 100 and something months. Sun Prism subscribed, and he submitted a game, I guess from Lichess. But I'm just waking up here, my evening. Just getting started. Now I won't be able to sleep in the morning. I won't be able to wake up in the morning. Okay. Anyway. So, following game was, I think it was like from some instructional book. But it doesn't matter, because it's just a classic game anyways. This is played in I don't know. I'm guessing Zurich, 1953. Reshevsky, Karius. All right. Both of these are great players, although Karius is arguably one of those people who maybe should have been world champion. It's marginal. The argument is marginal. He may have been the best player in the world at some point. Okay. Reshevsky, not but a great player nonetheless, although he was a jerk by many people's reference. Knight f3, knight f6, c4. Move order I use a lot. And now Karius playing b6, a move order I used to use a lot with Black. So this is cool. It's a hedgehog. Black offering White the opportunity to go back into a Queen's Indian. Playing for a fianchetto with Bishop b7. Kingside is yet to be decided. Karius was, I guess he was a Queen's Indian player. Come to think of it, Nimzo Queen's Indian. And now Reshevsky plays a very strange move. I think a strange move by Reshevsky here, my opinion, but nonetheless a move that has a good score. And so it goes, as they say. White plays d3. So this looks like an anti b6 move. So he's trying to set up a wall to interfere with Black's Fianchetto plan. Worst case scenario, it's like big BFD, I would say, from Black's perspective. You want to play for e4? Fine. Of course, Black probably doesn't want to see e4, e5. Kicking his knight back off of f6. e4 really can be prevented. The only thing would be like if Black plays like bishop e7 and White plays e4, does Black want to allow him to play e5? So you could play like d6. Black could play d6 at some point. Or maybe you allow e5 and say e5 is stupid and allow the knight to be kicked back all the way to g8, for example. Or maybe you want to be really weird and play like d6 and say like, okay, now you'll never do e4, e5. I don't care. Someone played d6. Banus against somebody from 2006, young Banus. I played him back then. Anyways, early Ribley influence. So here Kyrgios says an interesting thing though. He surprises me here. I thought he would play bishop e7 or c5, but he goes g6. And why not? So that is kind of interesting. I mean, this is sort of long. Black try to no. I don't think that the problem with d5. The problem with d5 is like you could try to play d5, but he'll take. White will take, and then where do you put your knight after e4? To be honest, it is probably playable. It was played by two people. The problem is like White trades toward the center. You have to take with a knight. And then I'm assuming e4. You don't have this square. You don't have this square. And this is bad. So here's Friedrich Olofsson. Knight f6, you have to go back. I mean, to be fair, it is playable, but it feels like then again d3 isn't the best either. How big is White's edge here? Almost a pawn. Yeah. So it's pretty bad. It's worse than I thought. d5 is not good. g6, e4, and now so Reshevsky, is ostensibly maybe threatening e5. To be fair, though, I think that Black can play bishop b7 or c5. Because even if you go e5, this knight can go to h5 back to g7, and White is probably overextended. It's like a Norwegian rat. I don't think this is really bad. I mean, White is overextended here, obviously. And the fact that you haven't played bishop g7 yet means the knight can't get trapped. So knight h5 is okay. The way to trap that knight. Bishop's good. So Kyrgios doesn't have to play d6 here. For example, someone played c5. Raymond Keane played c5. He's not afraid of this. Black could play knight g4 and knight h6 still, but yeah. Anyway, so Kyrgios reacts and plays d6. It's not necessary, but it's probably not a terrible move. Again, I think this game was played in 53. Knight c3, and now bishop g7. Ostensibly you would think like Kyrgios would play bishop b7 to prevent d4. Keep White honest, so to speak. I think that Sammy might play queen e2 and g3 and bishop g2 like a Botvinnik English, reinforcing control of e4. but Karius just goes bishop g7. So yeah, he's allowing d4. So he's basically playing a hippo, like a sort of semi-hippo type thing. Double fianchetto, but White's lost the tempo with d4. And so this was repeated in a Kateros game from 1973. You could see in the opening explorer that's cut apart according to my. It's cut up by my window, but my overlay. But okay, it's not really meant for you guys to see that stuff. It's not important. Quinteros White in 1973, 20 years later. But yeah, I mean, it does kind of make you wonder, like, Black is gonna play bishop b7 anyway. Why not play bishop b7 and like call his bluff? And now there's a bunch of games. Wow. Dubov, Moskalenko, Korchnoi, Stefansson, Wei Yi, Praggnanandhaa. It's a weird move order. He just allows d4. So d4, castles. So he's playing. So Kyrgios is playing a accelerated, whatever, fianchetto, double fianchetto type defense. But White had to play d4 in 2 moves. So how bad is it? And here you would expect Reshevsky to play bishop d3. Otherwise, maybe h3. And that's probably all the moves you're going to see. But instead he plays bishop e2. So I don't know why bishop e2 necessarily. Because it's not so easy for Black to put pressure on d4 here. As you can see, Quinteros, I think, correctly playing bishop d3. Estevez, Guillermo played bishop g4. That's all fine and good, but Black's played b6. What the heck is b6? This is like bishop g4 king's Indian, where you've played b6 for no apparent reason. I mean, I don't think that that's very good for Black. So, again, either bishop d3 or that. So bishop e2, okay, fine. Bishop b7 now, he has to defend e4, so queen c2. And we transpose some game from 2001. And now Kyrgios with e5. So yeah, you don't want to play c5 in this kind of structure because you're going to get your bishop on b7 buried by d5. I know from experience. So Kyrgios is concerned about e5, e6 type sacks. And so if he plays knight on bd7, he has to worry about that, which may or may not be good. His only other option is really like e6 or something to prevent e5, e6. But that's far less, tempting than e5. This pawn is probably indirectly defended by the bishop on g7. So I had a game just like this at the World Senior, which I almost horribly lost. I should have horribly lost to Michael Doherty. You had an old expert being dead serious that bishop e2 is the best move for White in these kind of positions. Well, I mean, if the center is just going to get closed with this e4 d5, the bishop. Sometimes it could migrate, and you're probably familiar with this, Bijak. I mean, it can migrate, like, as you know, in the Makaganov type structures, bishop d3, bishop c2, and even out here to a4. So in a normal King's Indian, yes, the bishop's better on e2, kind of against the knight on h5 and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, when this bishop g4 is not a really legitimate problem, I kind of would lean toward bishop d3, and I think he would too. But now Reshevsky does something that's very dubious, I think. And it's funny that the other player did this as well. Some random 2200 played d takes c5 as well, but why? Triple Y. Why? You might see that on your zipper company. Why? So, I mean, White could keep the tension here, but that allows Black to play knight c6. So I think this is a zero-brainer moment. I mean, Black has to play. I mean, White has to play knight. White has to play d5. That's it. That's it. I mean, this is bullshit, man. This is bad. Black might still be slightly worse after pawn takes pawn, but there is no question that this is the best move. And Reshevsky knows how to play this kind of position. Trust me. So I don't know why he would do that. He knows how to play this kind of position. He'll play like g3 later to prevent knight h5, knight f4. He's not even committed to castling kingside, but he will at some point. It's just Reshevsky knows, he probably knows this is the best move, still didn't play it. I don't know why. You're not going to win this pawn on e5. So why are we trading a pawn on d4, a pawn on d6? I don't understand the rationale here. Takes. You've got a d-file where you're never going to like penetrate into black's position along the d-file. It's a standard king's Indian. Maybe white could get some break like c5. To be honest, this move should actually be... So I'm going to say it like this. White is still a little better, but I think, he's better despite playing an inferior move, pawn takes pawn. Out of book. Yeah, this is book, man. Very unorthodox position. I think this break has some potential as a sort of strategic pawn sacrifice. I don't know what Kyrgios would have done. I think he would be likely to refuse to take this pawn. I mean, maybe it works. If you could take it and just go knight c6 and jam that knight in d4, then black, okay. But anyway, the point isn't to play it right away. The point is that c5 might be an idea at some point. But Sammy goes bishop g5. Now he's known for doing this. Reshevsky liked to play bishop g5 in these King's Indian type positions where he would like provoke black to play h6. But I honestly don't think that this is really a beneficial move here. In my opinion, h6 is a constructive move for black. And we're, if white wins this game or something, it's not likely due to this particular move. Black must be fine here. Well, I mean, I feel like black is still probably slightly worse, but not as bad as being smothered by a d5 pawn. This is probably okay, Black has to be careful now. So here, strangely, Kyrgios doesn't play h6, although maybe it's not absolutely necessary. I do think that we want to have that sort of g5. We don't intend to play g5, okay, necessarily. But it might be a thing at some point. I don't think that h6 hurts, and I think you should play it. I see. So there's a game here, white played rook d1. That's fine, whatever. You can't play queen e7 because of knight d5. So you go queen e8. And now there's a game where white played bishop takes d5, bishop takes s6, bishop takes s6, castles. Lame. Black goes on to lose this position. But white has nothing special. I don't think that white has nothing special. He's double negative. His bishop is a wild card, man. He has a Jolly Joker. Black isn't really worse here. He's a 2300 who lost. So I don't think Reshevsky's giving up his bishop like this noob did in 2001 with bishop takes f6. I think Sammy would be likely to play like maybe bishop c1. I would play bishop c1, honestly. You got your rook to d1, so let's tuck it back there. It can maybe come out over here later. Bishop takes f6 is a weak move, and the guy's lucky he won the game. But anyways, okay. So Reshevsky, all right. Black doesn't play h6. He plays rook. My bad. Oh, fuck. This didn't happen. All right. I'm sorry. I got confused by the game score. It didn't happen. Bishop g5 didn't happen. Reshevsky played that in a similar position in a game I remember, but it didn't happen here. I'm sorry. That was the other game in the opening score. No, I don't like bishop g5. I don't like it. He didn't do it. I'm sorry. I got confused by the stupid Masters opening database. It didn't happen, okay? Bishop g5 is stupid. It allows black to play h6. But oddly enough, Sammy did do that in some similar structure. Okay. Bishop g5, not great. So Reshevsky here plays bishop e3, which is fine. Again, he's maybe prepping rook d1, but he's supporting c5 type breaks. This is not a problem. Like g4 is probably not a good move for black. Probably not a good move for black. Though it's not completely out of the question. I mean, there may be some situations where black being able to play like f6 or something could help him. But it's like a Gligorich King's India now. I mean, this is dangerous. This is dangerous here. By the way, I just want to mention the fact that this is a weird game from the perspective that Keres never plays the King's Indian. And he's got a King's Indian-like position. And Reshevsky is, the much better player, let's say, in the King's Indian. He's very good. I'm surprised by the exchange of pawns on e5. So maybe, honestly, maybe rook e8 is fine. I think rook d1 is likely to be coming. But the question is, like, where does Keres intend to put his queen? He can put it on e7, but then knight d5 will be coming. He can put it on c8. It's kind of congested there, congesting his position. Or he can play knight bd7. I'm surprised Reshevsky didn't play rook d1 now. If you play rook d1 and black plays queen e7, you play knight d5, and Reshevsky has an awkward position. He has to take, probably. And after c takes, not Reshevsky, I mean, Keres black has an awkward position. This looks better for white. Structurally. Although it's also not forced. If you don't play knight d5, black has time to play c6. Control this d5. I don't know what's going on these pawn sacks again. But anyways, rook e8, playable move. White castles. Black plays knight of bd7. Okay, fine. Rook f d1. Which has a point that might be a little bit subtle. Also not really a big deal, but you do give this bishop retreat square back to f1. So if black tries something like knight h5, as I often do, Reshevsky, who is not afraid to play g3, he's very famous for that, in this kind of structure in Petrosian King's Indians and stuff. He can also allow knight f4 and just tuck the bishop back on f1. The other rook, I don't know. Maybe he intends to bring it to b1 or c1 or just waiting to see what happens. Black plays c6, stopping knight d5. Which, by the way, isn't, it's a natural move. It isn't necessarily forced. You've got to ask yourself what white is threatening here. This, yes, looks like a threat. Although even there, I mean, you have to watch out for a knight to g4. Let's say h6. Okay. Kai. If we play h6, then c5 can be answered by knight to g4. No, it's still not good. Still not good. It's still not good. No, you can't. So h6, c5. So white is basically threatening c5. So a5 doesn't really help. I'm just playing c5 anyway. Queen e7, he didn't like knight d5. So he plays c6 to stop knight d5. Is this a problem? It's playable, but black could just, like, live with it. he could just live with it. Maybe even b5. The bishop on b7 sucks though. I mean, this pawn move does kill that bishop on b7. So I think Grzeszewski, could have played c5. He plays b4 instead. Fine, he's supporting c5. Now what's Black going to do? Plays queen e7. Other rook defends the pawn with rook b1. And what do we have here? White is still better. So Grzeszewski's demonstrated even the symmetrical structure is still better for white because ultimately a fianchetto in the King's Indian is not really correct. Now Kyrgios goes with knight f8, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure what he should do here. This is going to be a hard game to analyze. Is anybody here, by the way? King's Indian Defense? You guys going to subscribe? Guys, don't forget to donate, support the stream. We want to go to Serbia. I don't know why. Want to go to Serbia in the fall. I still have to register. I like how the. Do you know the organizer, Bijak? Jeff Titch? He sent me a program about December. Parasin. Is it December or January? Maybe January? January. I'm thinking of January. They have an open in Serbia in January. Yeah, January. Now I remember. A little early for me to play in January. But I live down the street from the Serbian embassy. Just saying. They hate Americans. I'm just kidding. Okay, well they do, but no, they hate NATO. Okay. Rook A, B1. Putin. Alright, knight F8. So it's like a bad King's Indian. If we could get this in. But the problem is that we can't even play knight E6 because knight takes E5 will just hang. You guys see that? I sort of expected Sammy to play H3 here. Because then on knight E6 you just chomp. I mean, there's like nothing. Not even knight to G4. Actually, you don't need to play H3. Whatever white does, you can't even play knight E6. So that's a problem with knight F8, in my opinion. I mean, if you play knight F8 and you can't play knight E6, then what's the point of playing knight F8? Tactics and swindles, they're the best. Queen F8. That's a Magnus plan. Congratulations, Tactics and Swindles. Magnus maneuver has been called. It's a nice idea. It's a nice idea. This is a good strategic exchange for black. Okay, we can play like C5. Then you ignore go here. What's white gonna do? Take, and then stick my rook on D6 or something. This pawn might actually be hanging, but the knight's guarded there. Yeah. So anyway, white's still much better, but that's a nice plan. I like queen F8. Knight F8, not threatening knight E6. Now A4. Wow. This is 53. Grzeszewski was still very strong. But I did not expect A4. I had sometimes positions like this with black, once against Walter Brown, and I thinking back to Brown probably played Grzeszewski a lot. Wonder if he was influenced in his play. But okay, A4. I mean, this is an interesting move, right? You begin to actually play around with the idea of A5. Can black play A5? Take looks ugly. So if black plays A5, all kind of shit breaking loose there. But the idea being like takes, obviously. if a5, okay, there's b5. By the way, this is another kind of idea that Reshevsky actually teaches in his book, The Art of Positional Play, which is a favorite of mine. Just gonna say that. Reshevsky goes over this in one game where white plays b5 in order to undermine the d5 square. Then we go here, and when you take, we're going to get this, and then white's going to have protected pass pawn on d5. Now, I don't know about this particular situation because the queen side is very locked. This may not be that devastating in some cases, because this particular scenario here with these locked pawns makes it a little hard for white to break through on the queen side. The rest of the board looks very good for white, but we don't really want the queen side completely locked like that. So I was thinking that maybe a4, a5 we take, threatening this, and then black recaptures. This is protected, but white has stuff like c5, I guess. This pawn is weak, but c5 could also be weak, so it's kind of hard to say. White is definitely better. a4 is debatable. Queen c7 now. So Kyrgios, by the way, Kyrgios is an e4, e5 player, but not a King's Indian player. He's got his e4, e5 game on, but it's like kind of a bad Philidor for black. Kyrgios would never get a position this bad. He would never get a position this bad from e4, e5, playing the black side of the Ruy Lopez or something, He would never get a position like this. It came out of a Queen's Indian type move order. So he's now allowing for knight e6. And Sammy plays b5. So again, this idea out of Sammy's book. But the situation is a little bit interesting. This isn't a one-way street. I mean, even if this happens, black has a bit of counterplay here. Maybe he could trade pawns to like a6 at some point. He has knight e6. So he plays b5. Black just keeps the tension with rook e8. Kyrgios clearly doesn't seem to know what to do. But I have a question. All right. We played queen c7 specifically defend e5 so that we can play knight e6, and he still doesn't play knight e6. Can someone explain to me why black doesn't play knight e6 here? It has to be very concrete, like pawn takes pawn. But I'm not 100% convinced that Kyrgios did the right thing in not playing this move. Takes, queen takes, e5 drops. I guess here. Now this is hanging. White emerges up a pawn, although these aren't great. If we have to play something like knight f3, black might have counterplay here in the dark squares. So I'm curious about this moment here, b5, rook e8 is like, what the hell are you doing? You're just like trying to trade the rooks on a d file. But you could have done that anyway, like last move or something. Why play queen c7 if you're not going to play knight e6? So Kyrgios seems to really have no plan. He's just like going back and forth. Can black play c5? Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, he can play it, but I mean, white's clearly better here. And the thing is, like, this is much worse than the other scenario because the queen side isn't locked. The queen side isn't locked, so white has this really good maneuver here, the protected pass pawn on d file, plus a5. If black's pawn is on a5, it seems like it would be easier for black to to lock the queenside and have some chances to survive. But this, where white has this lever with a5, I like a little bit less, a lot less. No, c5 not a good move for black. But I think the question is really this, you know? Like, why did you not play 96? And the only answer is that the carry is just being, you know, kind of superficial. Like, oh, well, I didn't want to allow bishop takes c6, 95, but BFD. Maybe we have this. I mean, here we have this. So here, this, and something like this. Yeah, there's d6, but I mean, this is totally like unclear, I think. I'm thinking he had to. You know, this is a bad move. And now Reshevsky, I thought he was going to take on c6. Doesn't do it. He trades rooks. Although I don't know why exactly necessarily. I guess to weaken this. Now he plays a move I didn't expect. a5. Okay. Black plays knight to g4. ab6, ab6. And then bishop g5. And now black played f6. But s6. f6 is consequential. I don't like f6 because we're going to weaken this diagonal here. Personally, I think that black should play anything but f6 here. Anything else. Bishop f6, knight f6, rook e8, rook c8, rook a8, rook b8, anything but f6. Because f6, I have a bad feeling about this. All right, maybe it's not that bad. We'll see. f6, b takes c6, bishop takes c6, and now bishop d2. So now this square, maybe this won't come to haunt black. Maybe it's not so bad. But black now, okay. Yeah, black is really optimistic here. This is really over the top. I see. So he goes berserk with f5 now. And white has played a very fundamentally correct game, except for that exchange on e5, which was maybe not optimal. But I can't believe black can try to get away with this. This is it's called asking too much from the position. You know what would be interesting? To go back and look at what the score was between these guys. Reshevsky and Kyrgios. What their personal score was like. Because I feel like this is Kyrgios being way too optimistic. Even if it works tactically, this idea, White's played so correctly, he's made no mistakes. There's no way fundamentally White has made any mistakes in this game other than pawn takes pawn, which is like equal at worst. There's no way that black can be better. I mean, he's just done nothing wrong. There's no way this can be justified. He has tactics based on this, the diagonal capturing this. The queen might be overloaded. The queen will be overloaded, protecting like d2. You know, that's actually an interesting point, like going back, another move, back to bishop d2. When you go back to bishop d2, you know, Reshevsky here, this is out of play. But, bishop c1 is a real consideration. It looks passive, and it is to some degree, but, it's not under attack. And d1 is protected by 3 pieces, so the unlikely event of a back rank mate, there is this. It's very likely Kyrgios might have done this anyway. Because in this sort of scenarios where this happens, it could be that this knight is hanging now. But anyways, those are the kind of things you think about. F5, really radical move. I don't think it's necessary. This is like greedy level of aggression. Greedy level unlocked. So I was thinking, what should white do? Arena Crush is here. The real Arena Crush. The official Arena Crush. What's up? I now know that you're the official Arena Crush. Someone told me that. I didn't know for sure last time. I thought you might be an imposter. But if you're the original Arena Crush, we're analyzing a game that I think is from Zurich 1953, but I'm not sure. It's Reshevsky Kyrgios, and this is really crazy. Black played f5 here, and to me, it looks like black is bonkers and asking too much from the position, but maybe it works, And so without calculating, I'm just thinking like holistically, can black really get away with this? When white's done nothing ostensibly wrong. I'm shocked by f5. And so Reshevsky, you could see he plays like a very simple move now, which I didn't even originally consider. I'm looking at, calculating all these complications based on e4, bishop takes f3. There's all kinds of crazy stuff, right? Like bishop takes f3, bishop takes f3, knight takes h2. You have to even consider that because takes and e4 check. Grandmaster Arena Crush. Gabble Tromos, what's up? Should keep on delivering good chess content on YouTube. Well, there you go. Keep on delivering good chess content, especially chess content, especially good content. Very few people delivering good content these days, right? All right, so yeah, Arena is a legit good player. Not too many of them around these days. Not a snake oil salesperson like some people. F5. Wow. So that's aggression. Over the top aggression is over the top aggression. Kyrgios is like trying to do the impossible here. It feels like he's pushing too hard. Can we just calculate this for a second? Pawn takes pawn. If we recapture, white has queen takes f5. But all sorts of stuff is going on. The knight is hanging, So I'm thinking it's not recapture. It's what I just said. Although e4 is also in the mix. I would just have a headache and not even like bother. I'd be like, all right, there's no way. Too much danger here. I'm not taking on f5. But what is black threatening now? Because we have e4, right? I guess the thing about f5 that bothers me the most is black even threatening anything? Because, well, for argument's sake, I guess h3 is possible, right? Let's just say h3 for argument's sake. Black has no immediate win. Pawn takes pawn. Knight takes e4. What? Bishop takes e4, queen e4. My knight is protecting the bishop on d2. You can go back, like knight f6. Black's lost the bishop here. The bishop pair here. Maybe the beat goes on. Maybe the beat goes on. I'm not a tactical type player, but here, e4. Still, there's no clear answer. Even if white had to curl up in a defensive ball here with, like, I don't know, knight h2, let's say. Worst case scenario. Worst case scenario, this is what happens, nothing special. The whole thing is kind of smoke and mirrors. But anyway, Reshevsky just plays bishop g5. So he's like, okay, whatever. I don't like f5. I mean, I don't know. I feel like black's been worse the whole opening, and he just has to suffer. And he didn't want to suffer, so he played f5. And that's what I call, like, the... Maybe it's a good move. Maybe it's the best move. I'm not sure. But maybe suffering was better. So anyway, bishop g5. Now rook e8. He's moved his rook like 10 times. Black plays... And by the way, it doesn't have to go to e8. I mean, he could put it on an open file. He could defend his b pawn with a passive square like rook b8. He could even stick it on d7. I don't know. He has a lot of options for the rook. Rook e8, okay. h3, and now f takes e4. Another question, but f5's hanging. It's attacked twice. So you tried playing 3+2 last night. And paired Jesse Ren. Untitled. USCF 2400. Untitled. Untitled USCF 2400. I'm trying to process that. Untitled in terms of international title. Yeah. Obviously, that's a USCF senior master by the old standards. You know, normally anybody who's 2400 USCF is around FIDE master. Exactly. I mean, a lot of people don't even bother to get candidate master title because it's sort of stupid. And honestly, it's just a money-making scam for FIDE. But FM is a serious title, or at least it used to be. So yeah, you would expect a 2400 to be around FM. Although I don't know where the... Yeah, I think that's right, even now. I don't know where the rating deflation is at with USCF now. Mine is around 2410. So anyway, that is rough. H3. Everybody's good now. You hung your queen in the final game. I hate 3+2. If it's live, you know, if it's online, it's okay. But for me, I'd rather just have 5-0. You know, 3+2 on the board feels ridiculous. Let me use my time the way I want to use it. I feel like I'm playing 3-0. It takes like 2 seconds to make the move anyway. So the increment just compensates for moving your pieces. You're basically playing like 3-0 over the board. I'd rather play online. It's fine, but I'd rather play, you know, 5-0. I hate 3+2 over the board. It's so stupid. I have a really bad FIDE Blitz rating now based on that. I've played 2 FIDE Blitz tournaments and my rating's like 2270 because I had like a terrible play in 3+2 over the board. I'm way better in 5-0, but whatever. Okay. I like increment online. It's okay. It's fine online, but when you actually have to physically move the pieces, it seems like not enough time. You're playing 3-0. 3+2 over the board equals like 3-0 online. You're playing 3-0. The 2 seconds. They should maybe add an extra second. Maybe they should make it like an extra second when it's over the board or something. You know, just because you have to compensate for physically moving the pieces. You can't, it's not the same thing. You have to physically move the pieces. You can't equate 3+2 online to 3+2 over the board. It becomes faster time control. Anyway, H3. So Kyrgios is facing the loss of f5, I guess. So he takes in between move. White takes with a knight, and now I'm like, what? That's not good. So this is a total, like, this is where I've done this. This happened to me over the board. But people give up their bishops for knights against me in some shocking manner, and I like fall out of my chair, literally. I'm like, oh shit, But okay, this this is not a move I expected. The knight isn't threatening anybody. It's not even threatening anybody. It's not going to hurt anybody. Here's another question: why would black play bishop takes e4? What is white threatening? Okay, to take the knight, but move the knight. What's the problem? What's the problem here? Knight anywhere. Knight h6, knight h6, knight f7, knight f6 check. Okay. He doesn't like knight f6 check, I guess. You can't play knight f6. You can play knight h6. That allows bishop takes h6 to the tactic knight f6 check. Okay. That's the point. Oh no. Well, I said we shouldn't have played f5, but also, I mean, I'm not even sure f takes e4 was forced. Is this forced? Probably. There are probably some problems with f5, and f5 never should have been played. The late square bishop is a good piece. The bottom line is like f5 shouldn't have been played in the first place. He overplayed his position. Now he has to give up his late square bishop because I guess if this, you lose material. But I'm not even sure. If bishop takes h6, then you play bishop takes e4, queen e4, bishop takes h6. White's ostensibly better, but I mean, I'll give up my late square bishop when I have to, but I won't give it up voluntarily. I'm not sure. Maybe knight h6 is better. Oh, knight f6 check. Okay, that's probably good. Knight f6 check takes. This is also, well, it's like pick your poison. Which bishop do you want to give up? Either way is bad, but maybe he can survive. Okay, bishop takes e4, bishop takes e4. White is better. Knight f6. And white's just better. You just have a late square bishop, as my friend calls it, the Jolly Joker. Um, okay, you could say, well, this is kind of restricted, but so is black's. So we have a bishop pair. This is probably a better piece than the bishop on g7. This bishop has some potential, I think. Way more potential than the bishop on h6. Unless that bishop finds a way to trade itself off. We'll see. Here, obviously this. It's not clear where the queen should go. But e3 attacks b6, which is a nice bonus. It stops h6. It attacks this. So now black Kyrgios has to hold the dark squares. Just black square blockade with a bad bishop. Here, by the way, I think my student submitted this game based on, he told me there was some book by like Johan Helston or something. I don't remember what the subject was. Maybe chess strategy. I don't remember exactly. I think that's where he got it from. But anyways, it's just a great game from a great tournament. Knight 8 d7. White is much better, right? Better pawn structure, two bishops. Although two bishops aren't always. So now you got a gift sub for Mr. Coffee. So now I'm back. Oh, 96, not f5. I hated f5. I think like that's got to be a mistake, right? F5 is insane. I mean, it's like he didn't want to grovel. He didn't want to grovel with the worst position. So he plays this. You're in the desert. You're dying of thirst, and you see a mirage. So you go for the mirage. But maybe he should have just chilled. 96 instead of f5. Well, obviously 95, but what does it do? 95. Yeah, there's a lot of active stuff here. Maybe black can sack a pawn or something. But I mean, there is this. The queen is hanging, so wait, let's take back with the e-pawn. And actually, there's rook takes d5, though I don't know that tactically works because of stuff like queen e4. Maybe there's something there. But yeah, I'm sure there's something better than f5. I mean, f5 has to be like borderline losing move, although black already was worse. But anyways, okay, we got to this position. Black is worse. Queen b3. First queen e3, attacking the pawn. Then queen b3, knight d7, queen b3, threatening c5, check. I told you not to play f6. There are two things that black shouldn't have done. The first one is play f6, and the second one is play f5. My opinion, right? Rook b8. Yeah, it's easy when it's like world-class players, and I'm like, hindsight is 50-50 or whatever. All right, 2020. 2020, 50-50, 50% chance for each side. Rook b8. That's a really great square, right? Okay, bishop e3. Now white has an awesome King's Indian. No chance of losing. Light squares are totally dominated, crushed everywhere. And we get one gift sub. Thanks, Mr. Coffee, for donating a gift sub to Irina. And I hate the way that does that. Maybe it's a setting in my stream. The hype train goes off when we get one gift sub. It used to be like 5 events had to happen for hype train to be activated. It's sort of stupid for the hype train to activate on one. I never get any subs. Business is down. Trump just destroyed the economy. Whatever. But it's sort of stupid. Okay, bishop e3, knight c5. It looks like black's hanging on though, right? He's just suffering. We're just suffering. Okay, not good for carries though. He's an attacking player. Um, not a defensive genius. King's Indian defense continuing gift sub they got from an anonymous gifter. Now explain that to me. You got it. You got a gift sub too, Mr. Coffee gifted a tier 1 sub to Arena Crush. By the way, my volume is not working or something, so we got Gabble Tromops donating 444 to make it 44444 for Serbia. World Senior. Irina is not old enough to be in the World Senior, thank God. All right, you got a ways to go. Queen c2, rook a8. Because when Irina's old enough to be in the World Senior, I'm going to be very old, and I don't want to think about that. Okay, Queen c2, rook a8, knight g5. Look at the light squares, right? Bishop f3, not a bad bishop anymore. Rook e8. He loves that. How many times has Kyrgios played rook e8 in this game? That's like the 4th time. He drifted earlier with like no plan. This is a bad opening for Kyrgios. He's not supposed to play the King's Indian. He played a Queen's Indian, ended up playing a King's Indian. All right, h4 now from Mashevsky. Beautiful move. If it's good, you create a lever with h5. You give your knight a retreat square here. I don't think that's the main point, but it's a bonus. You're weakening the light squares, but it doesn't matter because the light squares are all yours. Now black plays e4. Okay. Black has to try. He has to try to, I call them surrogates. These are bishop surrogates. They are compensating for something, compensating for the light square bishop that black doesn't have. So that makes sense, right? Gives him some space. This diagonal is open now. e4 looks like a good try. White does play knight h3 now, trying to bring it back in the game. And so we have some stuff maybe with some tactics. Knight g4, knight d3, some sort of stuff on h2. Black plays rook e8, his 17th rook move this game. White plays knight f4, and now rook d6. Kind of an awkward move, but it just defends b6. It looks like everything is under control. And then white plays h5. By the way, I want to reiterate, one of the first chess books I ever really enjoyed and thoroughly read, because I have a lot of chess books, but not all of them I actually read from cover to cover or played through every game from beginning to end. I never met Reshevsky. He was around, but he wasn't playing when I started playing. And I I remember he advertised for lessons in New York City when I was a kid, and I lived too far away to seriously consider getting lessons from Lech Reshevsky. But he has this book called The Art of Positional Play, and one of my favorites of all time. Can I ask the ratings? You're on the phone getting lunch. Ask the ratings. I don't know. Did they have ratings in 1953? When did ratings start? This was 1950. I think this was Zurich 1953. When did the rating system start? It's a good question. When you moved to New York, Jeremy Silman? Oh, that's crazy. Wow. Hire the West Coast people when you're in New York. H5. Black has to hang tough here. I don't think that black is necessarily lost, although it's clearly worse. He's clearly worse. It usually takes more than one mistake for a grandmaster to lose, as in France. Does black have to play g5 here, a further weakening of his position? Or could you... Oh, he was the world youth coach. Ah. Okay, because he wasn't a New York guy. It was so sad that he passed away. Because he wasn't that old, obviously. It's sad when anybody passed away, but I never really knew Silman because he was West Coast. But I just remember that, around 1985, seeing advertisements in Chess Life for Samuel Reshevsky gives chess lessons. That would be awesome to have, although he was disliked by a lot of people. Like Fed really hated him. He was, kind of mean, I think. But maybe as a competitor he was, I don't know. Anyway, still, he was a legend. G5, is this necessary? I don't think they had ratings in 1953. I think the ratings started later. Queen F7 is my question. First question. Can black just try to hold here? There's a take on C5, rook B8 check. Okay, that looks very scary. Takes, check. Knight E8. That doesn't look good. So probably some sort of Queen A4. You don't need to calculate too much here. It's close to lost. He could also take, though. Maybe this is the lesser of the evils, no? And how bad is taking? Let's eliminate that pawn. I'm having hallucinations that white... I don't know why white can play bishop h4. All right. So why not take? Eliminate the thing. Take, whatever. Black might walk into bishop f4. Shit. All right, that answers that question. Okay, so you have to be careful of bishop f4. White is clearly better right? It's not necessarily over, though. Let's see what the engine says. Good old engine, plus 0.5. He's not lost. Your most hated player is Korchnoi? Oh, bro. He called my friend an Indian. He was terrible. In Linares, my friend's a Mexican player, and he called him an. He was mad because he lost his queen. He was totally like racist. Yeah, Korchnoi was a monster, but that's well documented. It's not, yeah, he was a monster. Um, Terrible person. Yeah, you beat him in English. Nice. He was a horrible loser and a terrible person. Hmm. Yeah, not well liked by many people. Um, H5, G5. So that's a good choice for most hated player. G5, knight D5. Oh, so this is a thorough romping. But knight takes C5, C takes C5. And now you can't take because bishop C4. You're getting ripped apart by the two bishops here. But, what happened in this game? Now, can Kyrgios still hang on with the dark square blockade? Giving up all the light squares. Bishop takes C5. Oh, no. Is it over? Because queen takes C5. Queen E4 waits up, clear pawn in ops color bishops. But I guess that, I mean, I don't know. Maybe this is a better try. It's hard to say. B takes, queen takes C4. Is black totally toast? Probably, but ops color bishops is good for the attacking side, so he doesn't put up much resistance here. It was move 40, I guess. Bishop D4, queen E8 check, king G7, rook B8. Well, that's pretty brutal. So maybe black shouldn't have opened the B file. I guess after queen takes C5, queen takes E4, at least black's not losing immediately. The rook isn't getting in so fast, so I imagine black's lost. It's only plus 1.7. So it's like another mistake by Kyrgios. This was time pressure, though. B takes C. Never put your queen on C7 in the King's Indian, by the way. Queen E4, Bishop D4. He just gets mated. Yeah. I don't normally go over games this long, but I don't have a lot of games for tonight, and this is a legendary battle between like two hugely famous players. In a game that I didn't know, so it was extra fun. But what's the takeaway from this game? And what I often tell people is this, especially today, most players are too aggressive. They're like, if there's like you know a range, um, of 1 to 10 on the aggression scale, like Kyrgios went over the top. What was he doing? Why was he so over the top aggressive with like f6, f5? Yes, it's right to be aggressive when it's appropriate, but he totally opened up his king, got killed. Korchnoi, the evil Korchnoi, would have done the same thing to him. White square apocalypse on the king's side, by the way, that was especially Arena's archenemy, Viktor Korchnoi, where oftentimes in the King's Indian, black plays f5 or what opens up their position and loses on the late squares. Korchnoi was a great player. He was just a horrible person. Um, yeah, funny story with my friend. It was 1999, and I think it was 99 in a tournament in Spain, and my friend was down a rook for a queen or queen for rook. It was an ending where he had blundered and Korchnoi won his queen for a rook and like a pawn, rook and a couple pawns or something. And he probably should have resigned, but there was still a little bit of play left and some chance for like a blockade. But a funny thing happened. Korchnoi was overconfident, and then he like blundered his queen on a simple like sideways skewer. He just dropped his queen to like a rook check and take the queen kind of thing, and an over the board long game. He freaked out, He totally freaked out. That's insane. Analyze Fedorchuk versus Crush, Qatar, 2014. Um, Fedorchuk, I never met. I met Crush though. She's pretty good. We could do that later. But what I want to take away from this thing before we go on to the next game, what Kyrgios did here was a little bit like what most people do today. It seems like lack of of like sense of danger. Majority of players, especially like beginners, they're just so out of control, like overly aggressive. What is Kyrgios thinking here? I mean, honestly, like Bishop G5, he's worse. He's like totally worse. It's a bad double fianchetto, King's Indian. I don't even think that Black should play F6, in this position. That was my first reaction. I could be wrong for some reason, like tactically. And it's probably not that terrible, but I think starting from this point, Kyrgios shows like what I would say is like reckless. F5 though is really just. Let's just see what the engine says about F5. Yeah, as Arena pointed out, like 96 is the best move. But F5 doesn't even make the top 5. It doesn't even make the top 5 engine moves. Like, I am not playing that move unless it's like the only move on the board. Hard pass. This is totally irrational. I mean, I could see if you're like completely lost, but his position isn't that bad that he's totally lost. That he needs to go crazy. You never know. So even great players do crazy things. Maybe a miscalculation, but you can feel F5 is bad. You should play chess for a living. No, never play chess for a living. Chess for a living leads, in the words of a friend of mine from Brooklyn, chess leads to perpetual brokenness. That's why I play poker twice a week. Okay. Anyway, um, kids don't play chess for a living. Now, some people might be successful. They're very few. Um, all right. This is a non-professional level game. A subscriber to the stream submitted this game. It's like Blitz, I guess. Rapid. What's the time control? 5? Okay, 5, 5. 5 plus 5. E4, C5. Knight F3, D6. Bishop B5, check. Knight C6. By the way, the player of white here is Sung Prism, who has played this against me a lot. So he's decent against he's decent on the Roslimo or in the Roslimo. I don't know about Bishop B5 check. Mostly I played Knight C6 here. I started playing other stuff like Knight D7 more recently, although I never played that in the distant past. This is well-known stuff. It's very popular. Wesley So, Chessable, um, and of course Magnus popularized Bishop B5 check. It was a very unpopular move when I was young. No one good played Bishop B5 check. Robert Barron lost to a guy I knew in New England once. Barron lost to Curto in a Bishop B5 check. Curto was one of the few people who played Bishop B5 check in the old days, but because of Magnus, this move is so popular now. Anyways, Knight C6 transposes to the Roslimo, and it's rarely played. Most people play Bishop D7. and knight d7 is recommended as best, because knight d7, I don't know how Irina would think about it, but you play the like Najdorf, right? I mean, I think of it this way. You're trying to question, the validity of bishop b5. Knight d7 is black's most aggressive move. It's like playing knight d2 against the Bogo. You're calling it into question. Like, is this even a valid move if you have to give up your bishop for a knight, or waste time moving it again when black plays a6? But it's subtle. It's like the knight d2 Bogo. And again, because it's the best move doesn't mean it's easy to play. They are not, they are mutually exclusive things. Being the best move and being easy to play are totally different things. It's also probably the hardest to play. So I don't recommend everybody to play knight d7. And that's why most people play bishop d7. But knight c6 is also a difficult move to play. One U.S. championships away from a 6 U.S. record. From a 6 U.S. record. You're up there with Walter Brown. I don't have any. You're a Sicilian player. Bishop e5 pisses you off, of course. Of course it does. It pisses me off too. I've always played the Sicilian. I hate bishop e5 check. All right, so black play knight c6, white castles. Now it's a Rossolimo. But instead of castles, by the way, I just want to suggest that the c3 move that was played by Kasparov at some point. Kasparov doesn't go around playing the Rossolimo on a regular basis, but he did play this. C3 has some like unique sort of advantages, and I think that people tend to like mess up when you play that. Like, for example, bishop d7 is a mistake. Now black has to play knight f6, and a lot of people don't know that, so I think you should think about playing c3. Anyway, castles is main line. You've played a lot of games with me. I don't know if he's here. Sung Prism submitted this game. He might be in the chat. Bishop d7. And now, okay, you can play rook e1 or c3. And c3 is more common, but it's possible that rook e1 has some sort of advantage in the fact that maybe black can go wrong with like a6, wasting time. I have billions of games with black in this position, and it's not easy. c3 is, yeah, c3 first. c3 on move 4 is a decent move. Anyway, c3 now, main line. I don't understand why people play a6, but they play a6. I don't think it's that good. It feels like it wastes a lot of time. Knight f6, rook e1 main line. And now black normally does play a6 almost universally. And on a6 we have a lot of games, but there's bishop f1, there's bishop a4, there's bishop c4 I even faced, I think. Bishop takes is an old gambit that's out of fashion. But anyways, black can also try other moves, but they're not very good. Like e6 is not very good. G6 is probably better, but white is better. Clearly, white is better after g6 with a good center. And then e5 is like kind of bad Spanish for black. So you basically have to play a6 here for black. Although, let's take a look at something for a sec. Does this move make any sense? I never played, I don't think I ever played 95 in this position for black. Just curious. Looking at statistics on the Opening Explorer, Black didn't do too badly after 95. I wonder how bad it is. I had never really considered playing it in this position. White has to make a decision. Bishop d7, check. Ostensibly queen takes. I would assume. You know, sometimes you can avoid exchanges of pieces. Like, so there's a game from 1989. Yanza, who's still alive. Sun Prism said, what? You didn't play Rook e1. Outing bishop all the way back instead of c2, I think. No, I mean, that's normal. It's normal to play Rook e1, bishop f1. But there's many different ways to play this line. There are many different ways to play. I was just curious about this because I never considered it. Obviously, like, there's no one sort of great, but Indich played it once back in 2015, though, when he was pretty young. There's a, you know, the Swiss Grandmaster Abergel beat it 2000. How bad is it for black? D4 best. The question is, how bad is it for black? Knight takes f3, queen f3. Now maybe c takes d4. It just doesn't look good. It doesn't look good. This is the original Yanza game from 1989. You got your bishop on the wrong color. You know, the black just has a bad bishop here. I mean, it's not good. Okay. So anyway, I just wanted to check that while we're here. He played queen c7, which is, it's not good. I like saying that. I'm not a fan. Yeah, we can't say I'm not a fan of stuff anymore because Trump like ruined that, but I'm not a fan of queen c7. Is black, this is a blitz game, so people do really stupid stuff, but I mean, I hope for black's sake he's not considering castling queenside, because that's just nutty and loses by force. Okay. Having said that, you know, what did you do here? White's next move is fill in the blank. B4. Oh, wait, let's do multiple choice. White's best move is B4 with a wing gambit feel, knight A3 developing, or the central push D4. What does Sun Prism do? Let's see. Wait for the reveal. We should have a vote. Mr. Coffee still here? Wait, another political joke. Ready? You need to be tested for testosterone. Oh no. Seriously. No, you might have low testosterone if you play h3 in this position. This is an indication of something intrinsically wrong with your game if you play h3 in this position. Black just played queen c7. They're like, meh. You know, meh. They're like a sheep calling the butcher to come and like slaughter it. And your answer is to play h3. I mean, come on, man. Maybe you were tired. I'll accept knight a3, but it's still kind of lame. This is one of those positions where you just have no choice. You have to play d4. No, it's like I don't need to calculate. I don't need to turn on the engine. to be fair, like, he was afraid of g5. No, you're actually probably strengthening g5 because you give him like a lever. He's gonna castle queenside and play rook g8, like Emery smoking dope or something. I mean, we'll get into like Tate jokes later, but no, seriously. Look, if black had played e5, I mean, I don't know. Even there, I would play d4. But still, you got the ideal pawn center. There's no possible reason to not play d4 here. Mike Mattisau, famous poker player, which I hear him saying this all the time. He's like, look for a reason to fold. Look for a reason to fold. Look for a reason to fold. I'm playing poker all the time. 5-card Omaha. Crazy game. All sorts of random stuff happening. I'm like, look for a reason to fold. If this is a poker game, there is no reason to fold here. You're like folding when there's no reason to fold. You can't play h3. You have to play d4. This is just like, come on, man. There is no reason to fold. You can stare at this position for like an hour, and you can't possibly come up with a reason to not play d4 here. I didn't feel like being aggressive. I'll play d3. I felt like playing a quiet game. All right, fine. I mean, if you really seriously love quiet chess or something, and you insist on playing quietly, but I mean, then why even play the setup? I don't know. You're bad, coach. Well, I know. I'm just using you for a punching bag. No, I mean, I think I understand the reason why you played this. It's not because you have low testosterone. This is I'm getting to the point. This isn't about low testosterone. That's a joke. It's not about not knowing what the best move is, because you probably know what the best move is. The problem is like you're playing when you're not. You're playing routinely. It strikes me. This is routine play. Like, your heart's not in it. You're not using your time. Anyway, take it as you will. But, this is serious now. And all jokes aside, maybe black should do some crazy shit like g5 now. Because I find it hard to justify his play otherwise. Whatever. All right. a6. a6 back. And then black played e5 in the only games where this position's been reached. Queen c7 does nothing. Although in the e5 type setups, it will defend the e5. So it has a good defensive role there. This is not an open Sicilian, in case anyone didn't notice. Here. And now, okay. Now your h3 kind of makes sense. And now, I just want to point out, everyone played d4 anyway. All three played d4 here. You remember what? Topala beat Magnus with the g5 move. I know, no, it's a thing. I'm not joking about g5. It's a thing. It's a thing in double king pawn, but it's a thing in this Rosslimo too. No, it's a real thing. And I mean, with the ability to castle queenside, black might actually be able to pull that off somehow. So d4 in all games. I mean, again, you could play quiet chess if you want to, but d5, I mean, d4 is. And now there's no bishop g4. d4 is even better. Bishop e7. Okay, so we transpose to something. It's a bad line for black. This is a bad Ruy Lopez for black at best. That doesn't mean that it's easy to play. I criticized Reshevsky against Kyrgios for playing pawn takes pawn in that King's Indian. Here there are structures in the Ruy Lopez where this type of exchange can be good. But if you're not careful, they get a whole mob on you. Basically, black, it would be nice to say, well, I'm just better because I control the d5 square. But black can get in like b5 and c4. And then it's not so great. So better to not do that yet. But there is some question about how to develop now. Because, I mean, d5 is by far the main move, probably best. After d5, it actually becomes a King's Indian, by the way. Almost a King's Indian. King's Indian defense. You're a fake King's Indian defense. White played bishop g5 now. What's the problem with bishop g5? Well, you're giving him h6 for free. And that's a good piece. You don't want to be trading your g5 bishop for his knight or his bishop. So you'd rather trade it for the knight and like occupy d5. Knight d2, knight c4, knight e3, knight d5, whatever. This is a weird move. Doesn't really do anything. It may not be terrible. But again, I'm a little bit concerned about g5. Dude, you got to take it seriously. h6, what are you going to do? You're going to go back here and give him g5, g4? I don't think this is right. You know, this is another very routine move, Sun Prism. If you don't like d5, you don't have to play d5. But it is a little tricky to find something, you know. I don't like a4. It looks like it weakens the queen side. So I don't know what else to do. You know, knight a3, maybe. Bologan has a game with knight a3. But if you don't want to play d5, I don't know. g3, turning it into like a kind of King's Indian attack is possible. But d5 is clearly best. The knight doesn't have a good square. So that's it. Move 11 approved. Check it out. 7 games with knight a5 and black never lost. Do you know what that is? Mr. Coffee, are you still here? Thanks to Arena for joining us today, by the way. What's the reason why black lost so many games with knight d8 and not knight a5? You know, I'm actually kind of leaning toward knight a7. But I'm not sure if we have time. I mean, if you could somehow play like knight a7, b5, knight c8, knight b6, maybe it wouldn't be so bad. But I think the answer is that it's statistically irrelevant sample size. To be honest. I mean, knight d8 conflicts with the rook's, you know, coordination. You know, it will go to f7 sometimes in the normal Spanish. But I don't believe this is good either. I guess you do support maybe c4. But it's mind-boggling that black hasn't lost a single game out of 7 here. But that's still a statistically irrelevant sample size. Statistically irrelevant sample size. Do you know how big white's advantage is in this position? Anybody want to guess? Good news is that black hasn't castled king side. So he can still hit you with g5 at some point. Maybe a little castle queen side, that's not recommended. Here's a weird statistic too. No one played c4 in 7 games. Is it that bad? Okay, b3 makes sense. I guess b3 makes sense. We want to keep that knight sideline. So if he plays c4, black will play b5, whatever. He has a square. Still. Alberto David, Grandmaster, play b3. It makes sense. But, I mean, is c4 so bad? Second best move according to the engine. That is mind-boggling, honestly. You're playing a good King's Indian, just very close position. So anyway, this didn't happen. Some person plays Bishop G5. Now, it's interesting. There's two games here. Neither player, and your move was played by Vasil Spasov, Bulgarian Grandmaster, but Black didn't play H6 in either game. So are we gonna play a Tory attack now? Seriously? You can go full Tory attack style. Like H6, Bishop F6, Bishop F6, Pawn takes C5, takes, and then try to play like the most boring game ever based on just like light squares. But he still has B5. So I don't know about B5. What do we do about B5? Can we stop B5? And then pretend we're playing the Tory attack. And even then, are we even better, or is it just like equal? This John Nunn bishop on F6. No advantage for white. But that doesn't mean that it's necessarily practically bad. We can't trust the engine because it doesn't evaluate in a way that's really useful for humans. But that's another discussion. Okay. Anyway. So Black doesn't play H6. Castles is fine. And now you played D5. Very good. Fine. He still has the same quandary with his knight. Maybe here this is interesting. I'm thinking King H8. If I'm Black here, I'm thinking King H8, Knight G8, Steinitzian, retreat the pieces, but try to fight back with F5. Bishop G5 is not a good move. Now you played A4. Okay, reasonable space grab on the queen side. I would play this, intending Knight G8 to try to swap off my worst piece. Oh, by the way, I just want to mention, you have to watch out for this type of tactic where sometimes there's like a fork on D6. Keep that in mind. It doesn't look like it works, but there are positions in the Spanish where it works. It may pop up in some case. Just to be alert. Black doesn't have, the luxury of thinking about deep moves like King H8, but I think that might be best. Black played H6. Okay, this is very routine. And now you played Bishop H4. Doubling down on this. Okay, he doesn't have a good way to defend his bishop on E7 other than like King H8. King H8. I like King H8 better than H6. Here he's weakened his king side with H6. Still he can play G5. He goes G5. Yeah, I gotta kind of go with like, well, yeah, why the fuck not? Why not at this point? I don't think you should put your bishop on H4. I think that you were wrong to put it on G5 in the first place, and its best square is C1. And the lesson is, like, when you make a mistake, admit you made a mistake. Don't be afraid to admit you made a mistake, because doubling down on dumb doesn't help. This bishop, as I've mentioned like thousands of times, is developed from its original square. It's not your problem here in this closed Ruy Lopez. Your knight can get in the game. Your rook will get in the game. Who knows? Maybe you'll have like lateral influence. You'll play A5. I don't know. But there's absolutely no reason. There's absolutely no reason for you to play Bishop H4 and prefer it to Bishop C1. And Bishop D2 is a move, but I don't know where I'm going to put my knight. Yes, you consider Bishop D2, but I think it's a little unnatural. Anyway, here, okay, G5, Bishop G3. And now Black is still worse. It's like the Reshevsky-Kyrgios game. You know, you made mistakes, but he's still worse, right? What could he do? Knight h5. He's going to give you a tactic. Knight e5, queen takes h5. Baby tactic. This is noob level. Noob level tactics. Black should be counting his lucky stars that he cemented your bishop on g3 and you have no breaks other than like h4. He's very fortunate here. This is probably, it's like a camel culture game we looked at. Probably not good. There's nothing immediate he could do, but I think that his position is defensible. He has to play something ugly, like, I don't know, knight e8. I mean, you're better. Knight e8, knight h2, knight g7, and play for f5, maybe. I don't know, knight g4. Hard to defend h6. For example, this is stupid. He blunders a tactic, right? Knight e5. Now you're just better. Takes, and if takes f1, knight f8. So he has to take back. He's down a clear pawn. But maybe it's not so simple. There's a component of this position that I feel a little uncomfortable about. I don't know what choice you had, though. Maybe you could just... The thing is, like, knight f4, I don't like allowing knight f4. I'm not sure, though. I mean, I think you have to consider other options. At the end of the day, let's see what happens here, okay? Take, and now takes, but it's opposite color bishops. So you have to calculate all this, and then you have to say, okay, guess what? Your extra pawn doesn't matter too much. What matters is the attacking possibilities for both sides on the opposite colors. His knight sucks. So that knight borderline loses the game for black, I guess, because it's on d8. Someone said knight takes e5, knight takes d5. What? I don't know what we're talking about. Anyway, all right, so knight takes g3 takes, queen takes here, here, here. That's purist Reshevsky style. Okay, he gives his knight a square. But is it worth it? Okay. What about bishop f6? I mean, I think this is an important question, no? My dad used to say that a little bit of prevention goes a long way. There's a famous expression, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. In defense of prophylaxis, maybe black plays this first, then tries to play bishop e5. Then we can decide what we want to do with like f6 or whatever. This is really weakening. So I wouldn't be surprised if black is lost after f5. But it's still complicated, you know? I am a little concerned by your lack of development. I mean, you have not developed your queen side. So it's not like you're automatically winning out of hand here. So I think you need to handle the position carefully. I mean, development is necessary in order to win this game. Chess Riddle is back. Your biggest fan. It's your biggest fan? You're my biggest fan? I'm your biggest fan. I'm your biggest fan? No way. No way. Chess Riddle has redeemed a Gigantify in emote for 60 bits. Nobody ever does that. I don't know why. I love Gigantifying. But it's free for me. Free for me. Guys, are you serious? Did I run the whole stream without, like, starting my... Are you guys serious? Did I do that? Oh my god, no one even told me. I've been doing the whole stream without even broadcasting on Lichess. That's so fucked up. I'm an idiot. Alright, whatever. Who cares? Anyway. Yeah, I didn't even have Lichess enabled. Whatever. It's not like there's any viewers from Lichess anyway. But it was nice of Arena Crush to stop by. So, where was I? Thundercats. Yeah, here. So I didn't even have it enabled. Okay, now people can watch. Wow. All right. We have our own fans. I don't need Lichess. So here, Sun Prism, it's a blitz game, and you have like all of your initial time. Can I just like shoot myself? We won't do that on stream, but pawn control is 5+5, and it's move 17, and Sun Prism has 4 minutes and 53 seconds left. Knight d2 looks reasonable to me. But there's something else that I want to look at. Tactics. I think you need to analyze pawn takes pawn. Yeah, bishop e2 is a nice concept too. But I have a question here. So what happens after queen f5, rook e7, queen f2 check, king h2, the cubby hole? I mean, I got to assume that black is dead here. Never assume anything, right? Queen h5. This looks good, but I mean, he might even be like sort of hanging on after knight f7. No. No, and why? Because here, king h8, knight d2, queen a1. Wow. Because that was easy to see. You have knight e4, don't you? Knight e4, knight f6. Ouch. Then you pin yourself, though. You're winning like every variation here down a rook. But this isn't the variation I was concerned about. The variation I was concerned about was e takes f5, rook takes f5. And now you were talking about like bishop e2, which totally is possible and makes a lot of sense. But I also wondered about queen g4. Because of queen g4, how does black... So the point is like, you're directly exploiting him tactically. But I guess the point is like, we may not be threatening rook takes e7. And even if we were, okay, we're threatening bishop d3. Bishop d3, rook f7. So bishop f8. Looks like black might actually live. So maybe this isn't enough. We're better, but it's not over. Yeah, there's also bishop e2. But that's also not decisive. It's a huge strategic advantage to white to like play bishop here, maybe, but still. The other thing I don't like about it is that we're not developing our pieces. but I'm not sure. So e takes f5 was the best move. Tactically, apparently this works, but let's check it. Queen f5, we're checking with the computer. Rook e7 wins. That we looked at. What about rook takes? So now everything wins. Queen g4 is good, but we got to find a move. After queen g4, bishop f8, bishop d3, rook f7. Not a no-brainer that white's winning here. Although we have that King's Indian light square happiness that's common in the Petrosian and Evil Korchnoi games. Queen h5. Not even sure what exactly our threat is with that move. The knight on d8 just kills him, though. You know, it's like it's a strategic loss. It can't move, and it's blocking the rook out, and that's it. You know, and you're just unraveling in a light square position against a dark square bishop, opposite color, where we have this, you know, power play type scenario. So, anyways, f5 knight d2. It's probably not bad, but I mean, if you let him play f4, now it's like much harder to break through. Chess Riddle says what? What is that in reference to? Oh, the game? All right, she didn't put in the link. I'll put that in. Hold on a sec. Dude, what is that? Oh. Open link. Why is it on like a random position? All right. Well, I'll put that in there, you know, so we can look at that. We didn't have that many games anyway. Chess Riddle, subscribe. You better. Oh shit. You better subscribe. God damn it. All right, so we're still on game 2. I'm taking my time today. We only got 5 games. It's plenty. I like going over the game slowly. We don't need 10 games. Better to do 4 or 5 games in depth than quickly skim over. No, he's not back. So Black should have not let you open the position. He like at least can get his knight in the game. Can you imagine this? This poor guy at this point has a chance to play knight f7. Your opponent had the chance to play knight f7 and still didn't play it. That's unbelievable. That's unbelievable. Instead, he's playing for non-existent threats. It's mind-boggling, right? He plays queen f5. What are you threatening? This? No. This? No. This? No. This? No. No threat. Knight f7 getting your knight in the game to an outpost square on e5? Yes. I think so. f5 was the reason for knight f7? You mean knight f7 was the reason for f5? But he could have played f6, you know? I was suggesting bishop f6, bishop e5, followed by f6, rather than necessarily playing f5. He didn't have to play f5. It still would have been bad, even without f5. But the theme of the day is don't play f5. No, he could have had the bishop on e5. Now, you know, he could have had his knight on e5, but he doesn't want that. Put his queen f7, horrible. And then you made a very weird routine move now. But I guess you were nervous about your d5 pawn. Not really an issue, though. I would assume queen h5. And black is lost. That's obviously not your only good move, but a very obvious one. Totally winning. But you went queen d2, which is weird because you're not focusing on the light squares with queen d2. Forget about protecting your pawn on d5. This is like fatal. I mean, okay, if he goes there, you don't really want to trade queens. But the threat is queen takes h6. I mean, you could take a pawn, but I'd rather just avoid the exchange of queens. The guy has no threats. That's the point. So this is routine. Another move that weakens your dark squares, and I don't love g4. Although I can see now, okay, you're probably 100%, not 100% sure of this. We're not 100% sure if we want to allow that. Personally, I agree. And c4 blocks your bishop, so that's also like suboptimal. So g4, I mean, you're inviting him to play queen f4 here. You don't want to trade queens. Okay, so good. Play queen c2. That's an excellent move. That's the best move. Bishop f8, and now bishop d3. This knight, I'm going to kill this knight, really. Weren't you ever tempted to play like a5? I mean, I would be tempted to play a5. This looks like the best like Trompowsky or something ever. You play a5, you prevent like him playing the b pawn forward, and now his knight can like never move. Not literally, but okay. a5 is a little slow. a5 is good. This is good. And he does play b6. Wow, he's playing knight b7, obviously. But this guy, man, I mean, come on, bro. He's toast. Knight f7. Please play knight f7, dude. I guess he's planning rook a7. Okay, that's actually a sensible thing to do. He had planned rook a7. Okay, maybe his most sensible move of the game. Now c4. A tactic that doesn't do anything, because bishop takes c4 looks pretty good to me. You played instead this, which is also good. And now you took. And now you're threatening mate in one. The worst game of the year award. I'm really hammering poor Sun Prism today. Your opponent was so bad, dude. Rook a7. Double mate. The knight never moved from d8. It never moved. PKR 5025. The 23 question mark, I think. Bishop e3, queen takes d5. Line. Was there a knight f6 check, bishop h7 check? I didn't think so. Well, you can see. Yeah, actually, you're right. There is. There is. There is. Yeah, I was like looking for bishop c4. Yeah, there is. So bishop d3 was an option there too, to be exact. But anyway, black was mercilessly dead. He plays rook a7, queen g6. But I mean, this game was a shit show. I mean, black just did. He wasn't there. Wasn't there. A lot to improve on your side, Sun Prism. I'm a harsh critic, but I'm a harsh critic of myself too. That's what you guys gotta understand. Sun Prism was like, he was like, okay, coach, No, but look, I reserve such harsh criticism for myself as well. It is not just about you guys being critical of your games. As much as I like to make fun of you and joke and stuff, I am that harsh critic of myself um as well. And that's the key to be consistent. So anyway, Arena threw a game in here. We can take a look at this. Her game. Mr. Coffee donated a gift sub to her. This was a game she played in 2013, she said. I think she said 2013. All right, so it's a Taimanov, it looks like. I never met Fedorchuk. Random Strong Grandmaster, 2650. Arena was black, and I don't remember where she said Qatar or something. So Taimanov Sicilian. The E6 Sicilians are the quote unquote safest Sicilians. 2014. The so-called safest Sicilians. So, anyways, knight c3. She played queen c7. She said she has a really high accuracy in this game. Now, I'm trying to think. I don't really play this with black. And with white, I normally play like g3. But I played a lot of blitz games. I have won over the board game with bishop e2 actually this year. We had been going over these Geller games. My air conditioner has been on all this time. I didn't even realize. Why am I freezing? I'm like, so Mr. Slow, one of our subscribers who hasn't been here for 6 months, he had submitted, and we had gone over a lot of Yefim Geller's games. And Geller, who was a very great grandmaster and a second for Karpov, and Geller had many games with like bishop e2. That's what Fedorchuk plays here. But bishop e3 is the main line. That's a sharper move because white can castle long, try to play like an f3 type of setup, I guess. But I never learned those lines. I think actually, now that we're talking about sidelines, in his book on compromising chess, I think in this position, Belyavsky actually had a game where he played this line with f4, which is really pretty rare. Maybe worthy of consideration. Anyway, okay, bishop e2. Problem here is, yeah, I mean, a6 will be like a Scheveningen. You play knight f6, white castles, and we're still heading for Scheveningen style positions. Black plays bishop e7. And I have the feeling we are going to see a kind of Scheveningen. So bishop e7, now bishop e3. By the way, originally, Arena's not here, but the main line I thought was like a6, bishop e3, bishop e4, right? Faragou Ivan, as a grandmaster who I knew from Hungary, and Ivan used to play a lot of this stuff. He would play this a lot with black. So, like normally a6, bishop e3, bishop e4, and I think like Portish Lajos. I haven't seen him since in the supermarket a few years ago, my old apartment. Portish used to live like somewhere like right down the street from me because I would see him like parking his car and like standing behind me in line in the supermarket and stuff 2 years ago. But anyway, I moved back That's the old school main line, like knight a4. So Irina doesn't play that though. She plays bishop e7, and this is more heading toward, I guess, Scheveningen transposition land. So bishop e3, black castles. Yeah, and most players here play f4. Irina's opponent played king h1. That's very Geller style, king h1. And now d6. Eventually we run out of things to do. Theoretically you could play d5. Yupishyn played this in the game in 2007. He actually won, which is sort of surprising, but it was a 2300. I mean, the thing about it is, I guess Yupishyn's sitting there thinking, like, most people play f4. Then if you play d5, obviously white has e5 with a space advantage. So it kind of makes sense, in a way, to say, like, well, king h1, I play d5. Is Yupishyn wrong to play this? Lajos Portish, the one and only. He had a concert. He gave a concert. I didn't go. He gave a concert at this like cultural center down the block from me. He's an opera singer. In his upper 80s. He must be around 90 now. Okay, so d5. Portish could play that. I'm Portish, yeah. Yupishyn played d5 and beat the guy. Whatever. Okay, he takes d5. You could even take with a knight, but this is like an IQP position where white should be a little bit better. So black could play d5, I suppose. I don't know if you could try anything else. You play like rook d8, you're going to get f4. So Irina does the absolutely normal thing. She plays d6, white plays f4. Now we transpose to massive, this is like massive Scheveningen theory. And I used to play this position. So I have to remember, but isn't this the position where it would normally go like a6, a4, rook d8? I had a game with Alonso Zapata, like where I lost 8 million years ago. I think I played a6, we played a4, and I played rook d8. And I played this a lot in Blitz. This ideas of doing like 95, bishop f3, 95. This is the idea. It's like a trap. But, there's no guarantee white's going to play e4. I had games with Nefedov where he plays queen e1. Queen e1 is better. I had a scary game against a kid here in the I played this Scheveningen years ago, like when Irina was a baby. But when I was a kid, when I was a teenager, and this is a very standard line, but she doesn't play a6, and this is important because a6 is it does eat time. I always got confused. There's like, I mean, technically it's like a Taimanov, right? But it's also a Scheveningen, so I don't know what to call it. In the Scheveningen, you don't necessarily have to play a6 either. There's like modern Scheveningen and classical Scheveningen. And I know I'm pronouncing it wrong, but I'm not Dutch, so I can't say it right. My Hungarian's a little bit better. I mean, it's interesting. You could do like rook d8 here, but these traps with 95, they don't work now. You can't do this because you get like knight b5 or something. I'll show you guys the main line. Kasparov-Karpov, famous. I thought it's Kasparov-Karpov. f4, a6, a4. Now, if bishop d7, knight b3, this is like really classical stuff from the 80s. a6, again, queen e1 is more dangerous. But the main line used to be a4, rook e8, bishop f3, and then they switched to bishop d3. You know, all of this stuff, it's like there's a massive amount of theory here. But when white plays f4 now, Arena takes on d4. Now we can still transpose after bishop takes d4, a6. What else is black going to do? Can black maybe not play a6? Let's see. So there are people who play queen takes d4. But I feel like the queen gets off track there. So he does that. I mean, I don't know. You know, I gotta kind of, you know, lean toward bishop takes d4 if I'm white. So Fedorchuk plays queen takes. I don't know which is better. I like this plan better with the idea of queen e1. Black plays e5 anyway. Now bishop e3. And now you play like a standard scavening ante position. All right, so Arena's opponent plays queen takes. Now you play b6. This is pretty safe. The bishop, you know, wherever it goes is going to block something or have some kind of drawback. You know, obviously on bishop f3 you block your rook. Bishop d3, the queen's retreat is blocked. Blocks any pressure on the d file. You can see like the most common move here is bishop f3. I mean, I would think like white maybe would just play like rook d1. I don't know. But white played a kind of unusual move now, queen d3. And the game is in there. All right. So I'm trying to understand queen d3. So what he wants to do is swing it over. He wants to swing it over, you know, like artificially. Maybe play bishop d4 and swing it over to g3 that way. So this game was played in 2014, but it had been played right prior to that in another game in Steinberg Bach in 2014, 3 months earlier. But it's a rare position. Bishop b7. Now I play bishop d4. That's what I expected, because again, the queen swings over laterally. And you can pin the pawn with queen g3. So e5 takes, queen g3. Could that transpose to anything? He doesn't play it. Oh, this happened in the game. e5. Bishop d4, e5. But what about pawn takes pawn? So pawn takes pawn, pawn takes pawn. The obvious question, what happens on queen g3? Well, e4 is hanging. So black just defends, but how? How do you defend? Do you have a trap here of some kind? Oh, yeah. No, I don't get it. Oh, yeah. So bishop d6. Oh, yeah. Bishop d6 takes. So this is the point. Arena's point. What about this knight b5? Hold on a second. Okay, I'm officially confused. Okay, this is confusing. So, bishop e3. Sorry, e5, bishop e3. Because if pawn takes pawn, pawn takes pawn, we really have to calculate some stuff like knight b5. It's probably not good. But I'm mainly concerned about this. So now Arena would have to play, presumably, bishop d6, the normal move. But yeah, this makes sense. So e4 is hanging. But still it's not 100% clear, right? Like here, for example, here, here. Yeah, that makes sense. And you got bishop g6 to guard. So that's good for black, winning. So the only question is this. And then takes. Double attack. White just trades queens. We take, you take, I take. And e4 is hanging, and white's structure is busted. So this is not great for white, obviously, but he might be able to salvage a draw. So all that makes sense. So it's funny, there's only one other game where this happened a year later with the Venezuelan Iturrizaga as black, losing against a lower rated player. Plays the same move, bishop e3, but one question. Sometimes in these Scheveningens, white can actually retreat the bishop back to g1. The obvious problem with that is that you have to take with a rook on f4, or not take at all, but let's say rook takes, and then d5, of course, unloads on that rook there. So white would now have to come up with something very creative, like a rook exchange sack here, and not have enough compensation for the first pawn. Okay, so none of that works. He has to play bishop e3. And so here, Arena played rook a c8, where Iturrizaga played rook a d8 and lost. Now I would have to say I don't know. Very committal statement on my part. Iturrizaga's idea is different. She's like pressuring the c file so white can't move the knight without hanging c2. Whereas Iturrizaga is thinking like, okay, I'm going to pressure the d5 point, maybe threaten to break out with d5 myself. I think both of their moves are reasonable. The normal thing to do in the Scheveningen is like take here. But in that case, I think the opponent has the ability to take either way with the rook or the bishop. So, and the point is like maybe white's not really threatening anything, basically. This rook protects f7, and that's probably important. A6, for example, a waiting move like a6 would weaken b6. Possible drawback. Maybe it's too slow. So, and by the way, like I also want to mention that this type of plan involving pawn takes pawn, that's normally played in structures with like the bishop's on c8 and probably coming to e6. This is different. So I don't know. Can we check this position with the engine? Wow. The computer does have a novelty here. Fe5, de5, queen g3, all the stuff we looked at. But bishop g1 is playable because of e takes f4, knight b5. Still better for black, though. Yeah. Yeah, so basically it's forced. Bishop e3 is forced. WJ Loof is back. We got subscriptions up the wazoo today. So bishop e3 here. This is Arena's move. Very natural. There's queen b8. If you have to fall back to knight b5, but this is more importantly, we're attacking c2. Now Fedorchuk plays rook a d1. It's a totally routine looking setup for white. And now Arena to play. The thing is f7, you know, it's like the Grunfeld. I just mentioned the weakness of f7, but now white's just like, well, your turn. You know, what are you going to do? I mean, I'm looking at like sacrificing a piece. You got to consider it. Come on. It's unsound, but let's take a look for fun. 94, 94, d5. I wonder if she considered this. The answer is probably yes, and she probably said, no way, this is going to work. But in the spirit of Rudolf Spielmann, you know, I want to be. Well, Emery Tate would have probably played it. Speaking of Tates, by the way, never saw Emery Tate wear a purple shirt. All right. Knight takes e4, d5. Let's see. Totally unsound. All right. Anyway, it's totally unsound. Just wanted to throw it out there. Rook f d8 though. Okay, I'm a little worried about f7. And it's kind of a hope chess type of move. But the question is, like, what else can black do? What else can black do? She's actually supporting d5. So it's not entirely passive. You are actively supporting d5. And white, you know, what's he going to do? Bishop f3? Maybe. Well, maybe he needs to. So here's the question. What if the dude plays bishop f3? That's what I would be anticipating. Obviously. You have d5? Arena left us with this interesting game, but we got to figure it out on our own. So, bishop f3, d5, I think, worth considering. It's worth considering because pawn takes pawn here. Holy shit! All hell breaks loose. Or here. That's obviously not good for white. So it looks strong. So I guess Fedorchuk realizes after this he's messed up. He's messed up like his queen is messed up. What's he gonna do? Queen has like nowhere to go. You sort of surrounded it in a weird way. The queen meant to get over here, but it never could. And that's white's problem. So now he's like, okay. I figured out a way to do it. I got my rook to d1. I go back and keep f4 protected. Makes sense. So everything's in order. I just want to throw out another crazy suggestion, but it's not out of the question that black could have something like b5 because of the pressure on e4 and the pressure on c2. This is in the air. And maybe not a big deal like a3 and like bfd. But again, you continue, so the beat goes on. I think it's interesting. This is a typical, this would be a typical kind of Sozin theme. You know, another thing that black can do, which is really nasty, is of course, well, it doesn't look scary, but let's say queen b8. You might be threatening rook exchange sacrifices here with rook takes c3. Although the queen itself is very passively placed, it can actually go to a8 and increase the pressure on e4. So what happens if Arena plays queen b8? Well, I mean, I guess that all bets are off. Like, this queen can sneak over here now. So she played queen c6, putting immediate pressure on e4. Now, the downside is that the queen itself is more exposed. And I would expect bishop f3 again when this isn't really on the menu like it used to be. But we still have b5 type ideas. That's definitely a thing. So if he plays bishop f3, I mean, Arena could offer an exchange of queens. You know, this is the kind of move like Geller famously beat someone good, Neidorf, I think, in one of those Scheveningen we saw in the stream that was submitted by Mr. Slow. But it's not necessarily what black wants to do here. Maybe something more aggressive. Let's see. Computer. Yeah. Bishop f3 is a move. The engine actually likes the odd-looking queen f3, which is something that I think a lot of players aren't even going to consider, myself included. There's something with f7. Not a typical move. So he goes here. And there may or may not be tactics based on h7. Take, bishop d3. So e4 is indirectly defended by this tactic, bishop d3, skewering the queen to h7. You know, this is also a reasonable square. Usually the queen goes to g3 in such structures, though. But the problem with g3 would be that, you know, we don't even have this, because our pawn's still on f4. So if black takes this pawn, like, you know, what do we got? Does this work? Does this work? Like bishop f3? Maybe. Maybe he could. Well, he has that too. Like, by the way, like in this line as well, after knight e4, knight e4, queen e4. Well, he has bishop f3 as well. I mean, I was looking at bishop d3, which looks quite good. So either way, but I'm wondering, you know, the computer likes this, but maybe g3. Giving us those classic sort of bishop h6, as well as rook takes f6 type of ideas. Not clear where Fedorchuk should have put his queen. He puts it on h3, and then black plays queen d7. So this feels like it looks like an awkward kind of defensive move at first, but then you realize there's more to it, because with this move, she's suddenly introducing these ideas of sacking the exchange as rook takes knight. It's not like an implicit draw offer. It might look like that at first, but frankly, I do think that white has to seriously consider bailing here. I mean, he's 2600 and he's much higher rated, but you know, you have to play the position. If you have to play queen takes, you have to play queen takes. If you have to trade queens, you have to trade queens. You have to respect the opponent's threats. This exchange attack is still a valid thing even in the endgame. I guess Arena would take with a rook, but I'm not sure. I think he should play queen takes queen, personally. But who knows? You know, maybe. Let's see what the computer says. No, it thinks queen takes, rook takes. Black is microscopically better. All right, so he's going to be stubborn here. He plays queen f3, and now he's begging for this exchange sack, but it's not enough. It's close. You could play it, but as an experienced player, Arena probably knows, you know, that, well, she's a control player. Not a wild player, but a control player, professional like me. She'll sack the exchange, but not out of line. It's not clear we have quite enough compensation here. This is nice. I'd be more inclined to do it against maybe a weaker opponent or something, but this is not enough. It's not enough. Okay, so queen f3, black to play. You could repeat back to queen c6 now. Then he's got some sort of knight d5 type stuff, so it may not be good enough. So she takes now. This is fine. And you gotta love black's bishop on b7. So white has like nothing. Nothing special. Takes to the queen. I agree. Though the queen may seem weird here, that's a favorite computer move. And it has pressure on f7. Arena plays queen e6. This is very natural. Defending f7, eyeing a2. Rook's open on the c file. You have pressure on e4. Black is at least equal. At least equal. Because the e4 pawn is like essentially weaker than black's d6 pawn. It's out in the center, you know, it's easier to attack. He's essentially like overextended. A tiny bit overextended. Now he has a problem. Exchange sacks are still in the air. Some moment, right? Imagine if she could take on c3 and take on a2. I mean, who knows? You know, like he goes bishop d3 here. Say Arena decides to take this, you know, take on a2, just for argument's sake. Probably it's not enough, but it's getting close, I think. We're getting close to the point where, especially with the queens off the board, I mean, you could sack the exchange, get a couple pawns, have a better structure. What's the evaluation? Still better for white. Still too early to sack this exchange, but she's got to consider it. Bishop d3, blocking the rook. Black is a little better. And now knight to g4. Classic idea, using the e5 square, but also, of course, downside of this move is major. White has d5. But more importantly, there are bishop f6, bishop e5 type ideas as well. Though the knight may need that square. So he goes knight b5 now. But my first question here is black threatening anything? I see one move for Arena that I really like. You know, to be honest, this move might be a thing right away. This is not a subtle move. But I don't know what she would say. I definitely think black is a little better. So knight g4, this still could be a component of the position. White plays knight b5 now. That feels wrong. My spider senses say it's wrong, but he decided that he likes his d4. That's dangerous. So I think it's more about playing knight d4. This is all like kind of a smoke and mirrors thing with the pawns there. He's basically trying to get his knight to d4. And a7 is more of like a distraction. I mean, a2 is hanging. So, like, you're not really threatening anything over there. She plays knight e5. He does take on a7. She plays rook a8. He goes back. She takes on a2 with a rook. And now white gets the knight to d4. So I kind of like that he got that in, though. I feel like Fedorchuk improved his position here by getting his knight to d4, but I'm not sure that Arena could have prevented it, you know. I mean, you could have prevented it by playing a6 at some point. To be honest, she could play a6 here. But there's huge, you know, this is a huge weakening of b6. It will change the position seriously after that. My concern is a knight landing on f5, and then we're like stomped. Knight and f5 could kill us. So that's a scary thing for me. If you can play g6, it's escaping again. Often a case where g6 is fine. Let's see what happens. Here, here, here. Now where? Black has choices, but not too many of them. What about queen g4? There's problems with f7. Take bishop c4. You can see this is very easy to see. This is bad, probably. So it feels like Fedorchuk has reason to be optimistic for the first time, like he has some actual chance. The best thing happened to him all game is like being able to maybe get his knight to f5. It may not be that big of a deal, but it's something at least. So she goes to g6, which is scary. I mean, this is very passive. Also, there's like bishop e5. So she goes to g6, and he plays knight f5, obviously, and black plays bishop f8. And there you are. And then it's like, okay. So white has this great knight on f5. It looks like he's okay. But black's active. And white's got nothing concrete. I would hesitate, but probably say the position is dynamically equal at this point. But my feeling is that black is not worse. See what the computer thinks. Tiny bit better for white, but it's very hard to call. He plays bishop e2. It's a natural move. I like this. It's dominating the knight on e5. It's not about like he's afraid to lose his bishop. Oftentimes this exchange, is like bad for black. You're giving up your best piece for a pawn on d3. With this, the bishop improves this range. I mean, this guy is like a Russian grandmaster, or he's Ukrainian. So Irina's Ukrainian, right? I don't know if he's Russian or Ukrainian. I'm not sure. But anyway, either way, he's probably studied like Geller games. I mean, this is very typical Karpov or Geller or something like that. Black plays rook c8. I mean, there might be queen takes c5, sacking the queen. Seriously, rook c8, c3, slightly weakening white's position. And now black plays queen e6, so she's just not exactly sure what to do. We don't have d5. If we don't have d5, but it's very unpleasant playing with a knight on f5 here for black. She didn't have a good place for her queen. Honestly, this game could end with like queen e6, knight d4, queen g6, knight f5, queen e6, knight d4, queen g6. And I think it would be a fair result. They did that. She did queen e6. If he plays knight d4, I think, yeah, we take a draw here. But white wants to play for more. He's a grandmaster. Okay, I mean, they're both grandmasters, but he's like a lot higher rated. Bishop e2 gets in the way of rook lift ideas. Say what? Bro, what are you talking about? You're trying to be funny? We got no humor, no time for humor here. Move 11. No time for your humor, for your weird backward humor. Queen g3, and now g6. So Irina can't play this because she's going to lose her d6 pawn. Or she could play it, actually. Let's calculate for a moment, shall we? Pray with me. Queen g6 here, knight c6, bishop d6. There's a rook lift. Yeah, that's not good. This is going to fall too. She would play queen g6, but her d6 is weak because she put her rook on c8. She's also got this liability here. His duo over there. Okay, he's tied down to b2. G6. And next, king H8. We have to be careful of knight H6 check, obviously. Now he does knight E4. Black doesn't have a lot of squares, so queen E7. Again, we're happy to take a draw, I would think, with like knight F5, queen E6 draw. But white keeps pushing. Not clear if it's justified or not. But it does look like he's... Okay, there's a problem, though, with E4. It's awkward to protect the pawn. He has to play rook F4 in order to protect the pawn. Maybe this doesn't look... It looks kind of stupid, though, right? This pawn is just... It's an annoying weakness. I mean, he cannot afford to lose that. I mean, if we leave the knight on F5, maybe white can try something different, you know, like rook D4. Speaking of rook lifts, this is a very weird looking move. You were suggesting rook E1, rook E3, rook E1, rook E3. Are you serious? With the queen on G3, how does that work? I mean, I don't see rook lifts really playing a role here, you know, with a knight on E5 and a queen on G3. This is a rook lift. Rook F4 is a rook. The only rook lifts he has are the 4th rank rook lifts. This is a rook lift. Rook D4 is a rook lift. Might even be some idea here of going there, but okay, that's going to be double-edged. Plus, you could double up on the d-file. Maybe the knight can draw back to e3. I mean, there's some stuff here. So rook f4. She just goes bishop g7. Well, that's a good move. Man, I really regret taking my knight off of f5. If we're going to allow bishop g7, man, why are we moving our knight off of f5? At least make her play king h8. What about, you know, knight h6 or something? We can't drop the pawn. But I'm serious, like rook d4. Say rook d4, king h8, and your knight's hanging. Now what do you do? Well, I mean, knight h6 is in the mix, right? There's back rank problem. Now Fedorchuk is going to have to worry about his back rank with rook a1. Very easy for this to fall apart, you know, or he starts to get discombobulated. It's not easy. I would have been lazy and taken a draw. He's maybe pushing too hard. I mean, even now, like rook a1, she does it on the next move. Yeah. No, I think this feels very awkward. I don't think that white is better, and I think he has to be very careful. Rook f4, getting discombobulated, allows the bishop to a great square. Now there's no knight f5. Now he doubles, but like who cares? You know, the knight's protecting. So I think at this point, like, Arena's better. At least I feel like black's better now. With the bishop on g7, knight on e5, bishop on b7. This is the first time where I concretely think she's better. She also has d5, doesn't she? No, seriously, if you can play d5, you don't have to play d5. I'm just saying, if you can play d5, then there's no way in, you know, till hell freezes over or whatever, that black isn't better now, right? I mean, there's no tricks with like knight f5. Is there some insane trick with knight f5? Can we just check that? Well, I can stick my queen on f6. at very least. Wait, play f6. Come on. Oh, this is bullshit. d5. I don't like this, man. Looks bad for white. So Irina could play d5, but she doesn't. She plays rook a1, keeping d5 in reserve, keeping pressure on e4. Why not? And now he really makes a lame move. Okay, knight c2. I bet this game is ending. I bet this game is entering time pressure now. Move 32 in a normal time control situation. White's clearly lost the thread. Black's probably used a lot of her time. And now white has to make, well, doesn't have to, but makes this very strange, awkward passive move, knight c2. It feels like time pressure. Time. Move 32. Not a move you really want to make. Yes, his knight could go to b4, Karpov, knight e3. But I mean, the knight's the best piece on the board. And now white's reduced to like moving it to c2. Is that good? So, and then he probably missed a shot. Rook takes c1. He didn't necessarily miss it, but I mean, that when things start going wrong, you know, you start missing stuff. You start losing your concentration. Boom, boom, bishop h6. Simplification that certainly isn't bad for black. Now white has no attack for sure. She has the better knight. She has a better bishop. Black has two Isolani, but they're not so easy to attack. He plays knight e3, bishop f4, queen f4. So black is a tiny bit better here. My opinion. I don't know what the engine would say. And now she grabs open file. So, you know, very, very professional, practical, and smart play. And now h3. By the way, just a question. You know, if you have all the time in the world and you're an aggressive grandmaster who wants to win, is h4 categorically bad? Probably. But I would consider it. He probably considered it. I don't think he's gonna say him. I think that it's an idea, but okay. This isn't gonna be such a big deal, is it? 3 out of 4 moms are on the wrong color. 3 out of 5. I can't count, but you know, ultimately you don't really want to put your pawns on the color of your bishop. It doesn't matter so much with the h pawn. h3, rook a4. Ah, that's my favorite move of the game. Where did that come from? He's totally looking at rook a2. Probably missed this. You're not expecting rook a4. You're expecting rook a2. Rook a4 came out of the blue. Like, oh shit. Now he has to play something very awkward. Bishop f3 doesn't work. Losing the pawn is like inconceivable. Oh my god. So he has to play c4 or b4. And c4 is another mom on the wrong color. Moms for liberty. So he plays b4, but now that 7th rank is yummy, right? Yummy 7th rank. It's so easy how you can just sort of collapse. Not that different from Reshevsky, you know. Curious turning into like a blithering idiot against Reshevsky. Rook a2, bishop f1. 6 pawns against 5. White is a pawn up after bishop f1. We almost have tactics. Knight d3. Look at this. Focus here, focus here, focus here, focus here. Just not quite. I mean, f5 is begging to be played, right? Doesn't quite fly. Doesn't quite fly. It's close. So Irina here, again, I think they're probably in time pressure. Makes a solid looking move that feels like. Okay, I make a safe move with 2 moves to make the time control. Though there could be some check that might be annoying. Rook d1, and now queen c7. But a great classic Scheveningen position. Now she exposes this weakness. Rook's on the 7th. Now he needs to try something here, like maybe a trick based on knight f5 check. Does he have anything tricky like queen g5? The problem is bishop takes c4 kills it. He can't do anything fancy like this because you just take, and knight f5 is guarded. Does he have any perpetuals? No. Check, takes, check. Here, takes. Even that probably doesn't work because a million reasons, but I don't really like c4, although I think white might be lost already. He's not lost, apparently. Wow. This is move 40. Things are going wrong for white. Knight f5 doesn't work. c4 is horrible. He plays a horrible move here, c4. It's horrible for many reasons. You don't want to put any more pawns on light squares. It weakens the third rank. b4 gets weaker. He didn't want to play b4, but he had to do something. But here the computer points out a move that I missed, and he missed, and probably everybody missed, but knight g4. And apparently this holds. But it's move 40, and white's ostensibly in time pressure. I didn't even consider the move, to be honest. I just flicked on the engine, and there it was. It looks like knight g4 holds. Knight g4, hg4. Queen c3, rook takes d6. Black's theoretically better, but it's probably a draw. But, you know, very typical game. 40th move, time pressure. c4, that's very ugly. This is ugly. This is ugly because we can just maneuver behind and attack that new weakness. d4, I mean, all the dark squares get weaker. This is not a move white wanted to play. Rook b2. And so now all of his pawns are on the wrong color. This is what we try to avoid when it's like same color bishops. So obviously Irina could play like queen c5 or something, but she played instead h5, which looks fine. I mean, so long as white doesn't have like knight f5 check. I think she must have seen knight g4. Would I get a note from my chess teacher to get out of work? Can I get a note? Oh, absolutely. You tell him I told you you could take off. But I mean, there's also h5, h4 maybe at some point. h5 is a useful move. The only thing we're concerned about is this. But I don't think that white has perpetual check there. I mean, takes. There's one check. I really doubt there's enough here. King f8. Okay, it's a little scary. Let's see what the computer says. It has a crazy move. But no one's finding this. c5, that would be confusing. Apparently it doesn't work, though. Yeah, so... But now they made the time control, I'm assuming. So she played h5, and now white played rook a1. But he has no threats. I mean, what's he doing? This? But guess what? That bishop prefers to be on e6 in a lot of Schevenings anyway. So Irina gets to play a nice move. Queen c5, rook a7, bishop c8. With the idea of guarding f5, but also e6. So it's very aesthetic. Queen g5. And now a really nice tactic, bishop takes h3. As I mentioned, there was some consideration of h4. And now white probably should not capture on h3, I'm guessing. Yeah, it was a real tight game by Arena though. White made all the mistakes in this. What is that? Mr. Ader? Who's Mater? Who's Mr. Ader? Mr. Ader, who are you? Are you a subscriber? He captured it and she has the cute move rook h2 check. But I mean, obviously white can't take. But I have a question. I mean, I have a question, right? There's something with like rook f7 maybe, if knight f3, rook f7. This is a problem. Knight f3, rook f7, king f7, queen f4 check. That would be a tragic way to throw away. Actually, maybe it actually comes close to working. She might still be winning here, but it's a little scary. Like here, rook b3. This isn't 100% clear. So really nice move. She doesn't mess around and just plays rook h2 check with Arabian mate. You know, we're winning the queen. Nice game. All right, Lebojevic, Kasparov. Thanks, Irina, for sharing that game. So, Classics gave it again. Lebojevic, Kasparov. Oh, no. Who's Mr. 8? Sounds familiar. I don't recognize it. You're granted a day off from work, WJ Loof. Thanks for Grandmaster Arena Crush. Nice game, nice game. All right. So we got Lebojevic Lubomir against Garry Kasparov. This game is from Linares 93, 91. My bad. Lebojevic, he's still alive, right? Older than Kasparov. Serbian or Yugoslavian chess legend. But man, I'll tell you, normally I wouldn't recommend playing the Grand Prix, but here after knight c3, Kasparov chooses to play d6. Now this game was played in 1991. Now, Kasparov was playing in 91 Scheveningen, Najdorf. Remember when he played the dragon against the non? That was in 95. But why do people normally play this move? You know, either they're Najdorf players or dragon players. For Kasparov to play it, I'm not sure, you know, I'm kind of not sure, like, well, frankly, why he doesn't want to play knight c6. I guess he didn't like stuff like this. Kasparov didn't want to get transposed out of Najdorf. So he allows this improved Grand Prix attack with f4, knight c6, knight f3. And now, this will be interesting because Gelfand is probably my go-to reference on the Najdorf, but I believe this is accurate. Play by black now, g6. But the classical setup for white is, of course, bishop on c4. I had a game like this with white where I lost at the Boylston Chess Club in the early 90s, a few years after this game was played, probably, to a 2100. The guy tricked me by not castling kingside. I rarely play the Grand Prix attack with white, but I played it here and there, and it's not really a great choice because it's very popular club opening, and a lot of people know how to play against it. And this guy knew how to play against it. It's hard for white to attack on the queen side in this king side base setup, so he castled queen side in this basically same position. Bishop b5, bishop d7. Black does not want to allow these double pawns. Castles, bishop g7. And here in my game against annoying 2100 guy, I don't remember what I played. It's very possible that I actually might have played bishop takes c6 unprovoked. I would do that sometimes. Just play this unprovoked. But here, I've also tried this with black. We can try to do like queen d7, not castle, or delay castling. Maybe castle queen side, play f5, take advantage of the fact that white doesn't have a light square bishop. White wants to play f5, but you're attacking nothing. If black isn't castled kingside, the dilemma I faced in my game, and I had a decent game. I did get some chances, but I blew it. I ended up playing like for b4, playing on the queen side. But it was weird playing a Grand Prix attack, attacking my opponent on the queen side. I'm supposed to be like checkmating him on the king side. So, anyways, so Lebojevic doesn't take. He plays d3, but this is going to allow black. And one of the problems here is that if you play d3, I would assume that a lot of people are going to go knight d4 there and trade pieces, like equalizing. You see Carlsen Anand, he gave up the bishop for Carlsen, having triple pawns. Triple pawns not good. So if d3, knight d4, I guess a lot of people would go for that. Hort de Fermian here, 1984. Although it's like trading pieces is not so scary. But I could also keep the pieces on with bishop c4. By the way, another idea for black is knight h6. This isn't so easy to play, because this knight is not guaranteed to get into the game. f5 is tricky. I've had situations where my knight actually has to go back to g8 sometimes later. Well, it's not a dragon. It's not an open Sicilian. It is a dragon, but it's a closed Sicilian. It's a dragon-like structure in a closed Sicilian. So anyway, so Kasparov does something. Yeah, this is probably like what happened in my game with the guy. Just plays a6. You see here, some people even play bishop c4, but that seems kind of sort of over the top. I mean, bishop a4, come on. So you did Polgar Dominguez, bishop takes c6. Those games are a million years later. We don't need to see games from 2011. Nothing's changed here. This is not going to change. Bishop takes. Now f5, attacking nothing, but opening up the bishop on c1. White's problem is that this bishop is a bad piece in a lot of cases. So you want to do the Gobble Trollmops left the building, but what I describe is like the 4. Well, normally actually their bishop's on c4, so it's actually, here. Like a 4. This shape here. But f5 isn't about just opening lines to attack. I mean, it's about making your bishop not bad. Korea Chess rated us with a party of, I can't see, 10. Korea Chess, welcome. Welcome, guys and girls. Um, yeah, so anyway, a million years ago, against the 2100, 30 years ago, I um I got this sharp game where I think that he took on f5, and actually you have to be and I've done this with black. You have to be really careful with white here, about getting ripped apart on the G file. Basically, the Grand Prix attack doesn't work if black isn't castled on that side. So I think the nice thing about this move, which is very standard for the Grand Prix attack, is that it's not just about, black castles and you checkmate them with queen h4, then g5, bishop h6, slight delay in audio. We want black to castle, but black won't cooperate. What Kasparov did here is brilliant. And I might even have a game here if we look on Lichess, I'm not sure. Sparkle Horse is black one, black no. I have a game with white from 2022, that's funny. My opponent played e6, and I played f5 now. But I think e6 is a mistake. Kasparov's move is known, and this is what the guy did against me. He probably knew this game, honestly. My opponent at the Boylston Chess Club in circa 1993, 94. I don't remember the exact year, but if you think about it, now it all makes sense. He had seen this game and simply copied Kasparov's play from Linares 1991. I was never that thorough about following the top tournaments and stuff. This game went over my head because I didn't study every game religiously like that was played in Linares. That was never my style. I kind of hit or miss stuff. I didn't know this game, but it was remarkably similar to this. This game that I played and like lost with white like literally 2 years later. Pretty much the same thing, like a4. I can't remember though. Maybe I didn't play a4. Maybe I did try to do like b4. It's not clear which way Lebojevic should play this. I also want to draw attention to the fact that queen on e1 has many benefits. This is very important. Like, if black's going to try to castle queenside or something, this diagonal is key. You've got b4 break or a4 restraining. Which do you want to do? You want to restrain black, or do you want to try to open it up? It probably depends if he's going to castle over there or not, right? But also, and I've had this position with black against one of our viewers, one of our VIP viewers, Morales, who was on earlier, not on the stream, but on the site. Morales has hit me with some e5s. Sometimes this move is actually decent for white. It's a little bit counterintuitive because either way, it's like one of those things. It's like a hippo. You can't shut down both bishops. It's like one or the other. Like this one's shut down, but this one's open. If you play e5, the opposite, right? This is open, but this one's shut down. But normally white structurally plays for f5 because they make their own bishop better. So this sometimes changes the whole thing. Like you see, if e5 though, I'll play knight h6, like a modern defense, and hold off these light squares. But I got some games where, maybe you have to watch for stuff like e6, for example, can be a little bit dangerous. So Lebojevic plays a4, and now Kasparov. Honestly, this is a very surprising move for me. I wouldn't have played this. And I'm nowhere near qualified to comment on Kasparov's moves in his prime. He's like the strongest player in the world. Man, b6, I honestly wouldn't have considered. I would probably play That's not fair to say I wouldn't have considered it, but I probably would be concerned about my development at this point and playing knight h6. There, although, you also have to be careful of this now. So crazy stuff can happen, like takes, 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 takes. I don't know if this is sound, probably not. But that knight can be that kind of awkward on h6. Maybe white doesn't take anything. Maybe white just plays f5, sacks a pawn, and then does something else, like e5. That probably doesn't work. Queen h4. That's it. Now queen h4. Let's do queen h4. You would have played it, but for not for the same reasons. b6. I mean, in a vacuum, b6 is a totally natural move. This is like a totally standard move, right? If everything's normal, I'm like castled on the king side. It's a queen's Indian or Benoni or something. But I mean, my king's in the middle of the board. White's king is safe. It's a Sicilian. I'm like, there's a queen here. My knight is on g8. I'm just calmly playing b6. Like, you're also weakening some stuff. He could play this, for example, attacking b6. Or do we want to trade our Litsker bishop? Not really. Frankly, I'm a little bit concerned about this move. What do you think? Kasparov wasn't. He wasn't afraid, but no, seriously, knight d5. How do we get rid of that knight on d5, by the way? Other than taking it directly. Duh. Okay, of course this can be played. But after bishop at d5 takes, like, knight f6, c4. I mean, maybe black isn't worse, but I'm not that in love with black's position. Yeah, if you try to do something fancy, like queen b7, you're still getting c4. And this is that's a pseudo threat. You're not really threatening to take my knight, because I will recapture on d5 and win your bishop on c6. So this is kind of awkward, We could just ignore it and play like f5. This is my point. Because this sucks. This sucks. Pawn takes pawn, check, and take the bishop on c6. Only white can be better here. So it's not so easy. This is what I'm saying. I wouldn't be surprised if I flick on the engine and knight d5 is white's best move. But this may be where, like, Lebojevic goes wrong. Knight d5 not top 5. Which makes me suspect there's something wrong with it, but I don't know what. There is a concrete problem. Huh. So the computer likes this for black. Takes, knight f6, c4. I thought this was fine for white, but there must be something here. Rook a2, b5, for example. I mean, that's very subtle. I don't know that I would be able to evaluate this position for black and say that black is half a pawn better, to be fair. White has some space, and it doesn't look that easy to do anything to him. But apparently, like, this threat of playing rook e8 and e6 is key. The white rook can swing over, but we have pressure on a4. That's very subtle stuff. Very subtle stuff. So that's why knight d5 isn't good. So Kasparov obviously, like, figuring this out. But I want to go back a move here. I don't know about a4. Remember that black has the ability to castle queenside. Maybe we shouldn't commit to a4 white so early. This is a useful move for white, like bishop d2. He may have been concerned about b5 concretely. Maybe it's true. Maybe once you don't play a4, I'm going to play b5. But again, these type of things are hard to evaluate. Knight 94. I have a very shaky record in this type of position with black. Um, it's hard to play for both sides. Anyway, a4, b6, b3. This is a weird move, right? b3 I don't like, but maybe Lebojevic understands something here. It looks weakening, but at the same time, I guess trading off black's bishop pair isn't such a bad thing. Like, even if we have to play bishop b2, knight d1, or something like that, maybe it's not so bad. Ultimately, it's a closed structure with 16 pawns on the board, and when you have 16 pawns on the board, knights tend to be better than bishops. That's all there is to it. So if I play, like, for example, knight h6 and white goes bishop b2, and I castle and you play knight d1, just, hypothetically, takes. This bishop is not. This is better for white, definitely. So that trade of that bishop on g7 for the bishop on b2 does not favor Kasparov. In fact, I have some friends who played the Benoni, or a friend who played the Benoni. This is one of the positions where I think even Bobby Fischer has got to seriously consider f6. I would very seriously think that maybe f6 is the move here. We keep this bishop as like a kingside defender. Avoid exchanging bishops. You would do f6 too. Excellent move. We don't trade off bishops. The knight can drop back to f7 in some lines. We stay flexible. Keep the bishop pair on the board. Instead, Kasparov goes knight f6. Okay, this is a very natural move. If e5, we have to be careful. Gary doesn't seem concerned. I mean, Lebojevic, he's a great player, but he's kind of, compared to Kasparov, he's like a street hustler. I don't mean to like dismiss him, but I mean, he's kind of a sort of, what's the word I'm looking for? Like a gambler. Huge underdog against Kasparov in at any time. I'm sure he doesn't have a good score against Kasparov. b3, knight f6, h3. From a different generation, really. And now Kasparov concretely trying to exploit white here. The following is not a move I would recommend playing at home. But remember, this was 1991. Kasparov was probably at his absolute peak in, say, 1991. He had just won the World Championship again against Kasparov in 1990. He's still very young. Absolute peak. Lebojevic beginning to get older at that point. Definitely past his peak. Huge mismatch. Although Lebojevic can still play in 91. But the following move is just like, you gotta be kidding me. Knight h5. Now raise your hand if you would have played that. That is a crazy hypermodern move. Wow. This could lead to all sorts of complications. I mean, our knight has gone to g3, and then white's playing rook f2. What are we following up with? Like h5, h4? So assuming that Lebojevic plays a normal move here, which actually he did. He played bishop d2. No, actually, the move that bothers me is g4. Okay, let's look at g4. G4 is key, right? We can't play knight h5 unless G4 is bad for white. How bad is G4? Yeah, Gary could play knight f6, but that's not the point. That's got to be wasting time at best. I mean, I'm really worried about this, honestly. We're going in, and we're happy to trade pieces, like queen takes, bishop takes, c3, fine. You know, we're just better. But the real question is, it's like the Wizard of Oz, when the guy's behind the curtain, you know, the important stuff all happens like, you know, behind the stage. What would have happened if Kasparov had played, you know, if Lebojevic had played g4, Gary plays knight g3, rook f2, covering e2. We all see this, you know, queen fork here with knight e2, but it's not on. The point is, black needs a move now, because otherwise his knight is getting trapped by rook g2. So are we like going to sack a piece with knight c4? Some kind of crazy shit with this? Is it f5? Maybe. But I would think like the safest bet is like h5. Because we hit g4, and we can even play h4 if necessary. Ripping open the h file. Maybe knight h1 would be a strong move if black were to play here. I'm not sure. I think knight h1 is like in the it's aesthetic. It's in the mix. Lebojevic would get destroyed. Okay, we need to see no more. So knight h5 was just an amazing move that most people wouldn't have played because they would have misevaluated this whole thing. You know, you've got to see all that in order to play knight h5, because g4 doesn't work. But it's subtle, and it requires a lot of calculation. Bishop d2, and now the point f5. And this is key for several reasons, right? We stop f5 by white. Not without some risk, especially because of like the inclusion of stuff with like queen h4 maybe. But this move makes tons of sense in strategic terms because of our Jolly Joker. We have a light square bishop. White doesn't have a light square bishop. We're playing on light square complex. That's very important to think of it that way. I'm a little bit worried that maybe in some cases this backfires for us. Like, it wouldn't be like I never lost a game because of knight g5 in this. You know, this is nice, but what does it do necessarily? You know, I don't know. So let's see what you know, cheapo artist Lebojevic can come up with here. He's a great player. I'm just kidding, but compared to Kasparov, he's a cheapo artist. He plays e takes f5. Okay. That makes sense. You're opening the file, but you are losing, you know, you're losing your best friend on e4. So it doesn't make sense in that terms. e5 is possible. I just want to point out this type of thing. You know, take, check. That's always a problem. e5 might just fall. Close Sicilian trap. No, I don't know what white should play here. I mean, I'm actually not sure about f5. E takes f5. I'm not sure that e takes f5 is good. Maybe Lebojevic should be more stubborn. Kasparov is playing, you know, hyper modern. And they can come back, by the way. Now that f5's in, and they can come back and apply more pressure to e4. If white doesn't have anything, you know. What about queen h4 right away? I mean, there black has like bishop f6. So when you do this, gotta take with the pawn, and now knight is hanging here. Only move. But that's it. You know, now what? e6. This is fatal. If black's given a little bit of time, I mean, this yeah. Combined with this, combine is the word I meant to say. Getting kind of, it's been a while since I had an alcoholic beverage, so bear with me. 2 days dry. I haven't had a beer since Tuesday. Knight f6, my brain starts to get scrambled. Rook ae1, very natural. And now castles queenside, finally. And now I know how that guy knew how to play against this. So there's the d5 square, the other d5 square on e6. See how my brain scrambled due to lack of alcohol? So Kasparov is strategically better with two bishops, but the half-open files are pretty critical here. Wait, notice how this bishop is restricted by the pawn on f4? That's a real problem. That's why you need to play f5 with white in the Grand Prix attack. Because if you don't, now the bishop is totally restricted by your own pawn. Black has two great bishops. I mean, this is brutal, and the other bishop is great. So these knights are not doing much, and the bishop on d2 is a glorified pawn. So basically, it looks like white has to try something here. So let me ask a question. Why did Lebojevic not go to the store? Now, why did Lebojevic not play knight g5? Because of e5. This is a simple threat and a simple... Stupid question, stupid answer, right? e5. Kasparov was a student of Botvinnik. And when you're a student of Botvinnik, you have a very good grasp of fundamentals and something called control of the center. I mean, just look at this. The control of the center is devastating. But wait, this doesn't work, does it? He has take. Oh no. Gary has something here, no? Could be messy. This could get messy. Like, we have all sorts of discoveries. Let's check. It's unclear. Damn. So this is absolutely critical. And 0.0 exchange sack, knight e4, rook e4, f e4. This is computer, knight c4. That's 0-0. But we have to verify that this was actually forced. Lebojevic doesn't pull a trigger on the only obvious move here, knight to g5, threatening knight f7 and threatening knight e6. Somebody help me out here. We might have another move. We might have some tricks on the G file. I don't know. It is kind of tragic for Lebojevic, though. If he failed to play the only obvious move on the board and went on to lose. I mean, he took on f5. Clearly, these points are the only weak spots in Black's position momentarily. He could have just assumed that it's all bad. I mean, I did. Then I realized, like, holy shit, the guy can take on e5. This is covered. That trick doesn't work. So Kasparov, I think it was all sound, but he was also lucky. He was lucky that Lebojevic here didn't he didn't test him with the best move. He plays this rubbish, a5. This is bullshit. I think white goes haywire here. He loses focus on the center. This is absolutely knight g5, right? Wow. There must be another move for black. There is another move here. Wow. There is. He doesn't have to play e5. e5 doesn't work. There's even a worse move. Wow. e5 doesn't work because it takes and queen c4. It's even surprising, it's even more surprising that doesn't work. So you have to go here, allow this knight in there? No. You have to go here, allowing knight f7 or knight e6. Wow. Because g2 is so weak. If knight f7, knight d5. But Kasparov would have seen this. He would have seen this for sure. Tactically, very, very strong. Way stronger than, he's like an improved Botvinnik. He's like Botvinnik strategically, but with Kasparov tactical ability. This is such a strong move. So it doesn't work. So a5, b5, and now he's just trying something desperately on the queen side with b4. Losing control of d5 totally after pawn takes pawn. This is a mirage effect again. We're in the desert. I'm amazed how badly I evaluated that knight g5, but we're in the desert, we're desperate, we're like dying of thirst, and we think we see like some kind of mirage, but it's only like sure death. This only makes it worse. Now black just owns the center. Pawn takes pawn, knight a2, knight e5. Okay, Lebovic was tactical too. Quite good tactically too. Could have an in-between move, bishop f6, guarding e7. That's what happened. See, like before, we don't take right away because of this in-between move, rook takes e7. But Gary has this, and then white sneaky, trying to get back over here on the queen side with that. But in the meanwhile, he has to take back. Bishop takes b4. And then it's just a two-bishop show. This is over. This is over, strategically over. The rest, as they say, was a matter of technique. That's fatal. You can't. I don't think I saw this game. I mean, it's possible I saw it years ago, but I sure missed it because it feels like I missed it because I lost that game with white. But again, I so rarely played the Grand Prix attack. Like 3 times in my life. I used to play it with black against the English, but yeah, let's stop that. White side of Grand Prix attack, only a handful of times for me. Okay, I don't know. I played a few close Sicilians here and there, but this is over. Just so easy for black to win now. There's no answering this. It's dead. It's dead. Even maybe e5 later on. Yeah, he does it right away. White has no safe square for the king. Where do you put your king here where it would be safe? Like off the side of the board. The safest square for the white king is like b1 at this point. Maybe yeah, b1 probably. Maybe you could do like a Pac-Man where you go. That would be cool. Is there any like chess variant where you can Pac-Man your king? That would be a cool variant. Just you can go across the board to the other side with the king. Like king h1, king a1. Does anyone know? Does that exist? There's like a magic portal and your king can go through the side of the board. That'd be the only way that white can get away here, like king h1. No, a1 is covered, so he probably has to try. He has to try king h2, king a2, and come out the other side. Interesting chess idea. All right, anyway, e5. This is done. Game over. Fe5. And then obviously you take with the pawn, but he does bishop takes, check. It's over. King h1. This is like for Kasparov playing with your food. Poor Lebojevic. Everyone knows you're going to lose. You know you're going to lose, but it still feels like you shouldn't resign yet. And then d4. Yeah, I mean, it's not good. Boom, boom, boom. Yeah, I was expecting bishop takes f3 now. Well, I mean, that must win, right? Damn, there's a trap. Oh my god. Wow. So bishop takes f3, queen c3 check. And suddenly Kasparov loses. Oh no. So he has this first. This is so amazing. King takes g2, queen g7 check. Surprise. So this game is far deeper than I thought. I thought it was just over. Wow. Kasparov sacked a rook here. He's really playing with his food. He sacked a rook. King h1. Wow. That is amazing. That's almost like superhuman. Queen e6 check. Man, Lebojevic must have thought he was getting away. It's really amazing that Black's still winning after bishop d7. Because he pulls his bishop off the long diagonal. Queen d5. Is this even sound? White is up a whole rook. No, White's winning. Oh my god. So Kasparov messed this up. This is unbelievable. Wow. So at this point, he's like playing with Lebojevic, totally winning. Maybe he missed that queen c3 thing. That's insane. He's totally winning. He got overconfident. Unbelievable. This is like 6 ways from Sunday winning. Holy shit. Yeah. It's a good lesson, though, that even the best players get overconfident at times. It's +2. e5 is still the best move. But I expected to take back with a pawn here. You would expect him to take back with a pawn. And it's winning. So he took back with the bishop check. The problem with this is like it's not as easy to go forward. You don't have like e4. You can't force the knight off of f3. He's still winning though. So the winningest move was this. So let's see where he blundered. Queen g7 totally winning. Queen b7 still good. d4. Yeah, here he just got fancy. He must have, seriously, he blundered queen c3 check. He just didn't see it. He had to play a routine move, but now it's like he has to work to win. That's a crazy blunder from that level, for that level. Lebojevic is so lucky. But honestly, I don't like the bishop takes on e5. The engine likes it. Because of queen g7, though. I didn't see queen g7. I think this would have been what I would play. It's more fluid. But this is, yeah, this is murder. Easy game over. Gary got overconfident and then got fancy, and he's lost here, and he wins. Oh my god. No doubt, like, both sides in time pressure. So by the way, like, in this position, if Lebojevic plays King H1, is that a draw by repetition? I mean, it has to be, right? Lebojevic could have played King H1, and I think that Kasparov will take the draw. But White plays King F1 instead. Chris Black could make a lot of check stuff. He tries to get away. Now he's already messed it up. King F1, Queen H3 check, King E2, Bishop C6, and suddenly it's not so clear. Check, King C8, Rook F1, Queen G2 check, King E1, Bishop G3 check, King D1. He loses his Rook with check. My god. What a nightmare. That was terrible. But it's reassuring to know the players of that level actually do make mistakes. Kasparov with a very rare double blunder. Going from a winning position to a lost position. That Queen G7 was murderous. If he had just simply played Queen G7. Nothing you can do. What does White do? Rook G1? There's literally no defense. I was thinking like Rook F2, Rook G1. Rook G1, Bishop takes F3. Rook F2, Bishop F3. Everything's crushing. Yeah. Kasparov let down. Anyway, guys, thanks for tuning in. Thanks, everybody. Thanks to Freya Chess for rating. And thanks to Arena Crush for stopping by and sharing her favorite Grandmaster win. I'll be back. I'll be back tomorrow with the Blitz challenges. Tomorrow's Friday already. So have a great weekend, guys. Friday, Blitz challenges. Sunday, Simul at 6:30 p.m. CET. Tomorrow, around 2 p.m., I think we're going to be doing 1 or 2 p.m. We're going to be doing that CEST. We're going to be doing some Blitz challenges. Not too long, maybe 2-hour stream tomorrow. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye. Hello. Goodbye. Bye-bye-bye.